How would you get down
January 1st, 2021, or are you taking the 100 million?
What's that?
You going back to January 1st, 2021, or are you taking the 100 million? Why are you hesitating?
I would go back.
Of course, it's the only answer.
I would go back. I think there are some people who probably wouldn't want to be burdened with the idea of knowing everything, and I think that's respectable. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, those people that's not respectable.
You don't think so?
No, not at all. No, you don't what you don't know bad like either.
Some people
what are you going to try to stop?
Some people aren't motivated by money.
Well, then they're taking the $100 million. I mean, you're motivated by money for sure.
Not the majority of women. Is your wife with you right now? She's in the house?
Probably.
Ask her. Go ask her. Would you rather take $100 million or would
you rather know the
future for 2 years? She'll say,
I can't ask her that question.
Why?
Because she's going to say $100 million and I'm going to have to call her dumb to her face.
I'm telling you, she's going to say $100 million.
I know, because that's a terrible, dumb answer.
It's okay. The women were wired differently, man. They care a lot. Not that they don't care about money, but it's less of an incentive than it is for most men.
There's a right answer and a wrong answer. And the right answer is you go back to the beginning of 2021. I'm not saying you go back to the beginning of 1821. That's a struggle, man.
You have too much binary thinking, man. It's not all.
It's the same result, only you can, for one of them, you get more money than the other one.
Ryan, the question was, would you rather take $100 million or know the future for the next 2 years? And obviously, yes, it would be know the future. You make a whole lot more than $100 million for sure. But I'm saying that a lot of people would not choose that because they wouldn't want to be burdened by that. And I think that
even don't be burdened. Just go live another extra 2 years. Isn't that awesome? Don't you want 2 years back of life?
Do you get to go back with the people that you know, or you just go back by yourself? Like, how does that work?
What do you mean?
Like you go
I assume
back,
all the people you know are still there.
But I'm saying
more of them are.
Right, but then what happens? Are you always 2 years behind?
I don't know. Does it matter?
I don't know. It's a weird question. It's hard to think about. See, Brandon said, give me the 100 million.
Well, yeah, I've seen Brandon talk and chat.
I knew that was going. Brandon's a good guy. Don't disparage our pal Brandon Wagner.
No, even Sunflower's wrong. Everybody's wrong. Look, I tweeted this already. Powerball was $1 billion the third week of January. You just win it the week before that. Nobody gives a shit about your life, and you have infinitely more than $100 million.
It's true. The people that say, because Sunflower said, if you knew the future and kept making uncanny gambles and investments, people would catch on. 100%. That
you don't have to do that.
Gambling's not the answer. It's just knowing the Powerball. It's
knowing. I'm not trying to take over Saudi Arabia.
No, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I would say. By the way, I'm with you. I would do that. Yeah. I would do that for sure. But it was
if I'm willing to take 100, I'm going to get 300 or whatever from the lottery, and that's the same principle. I get 2 extra years. If I want to screw around, the Doge boom is in January of 2021. Yeah. You could, you don't 60 need extra money.
It doesn't need to be Doge.
No, but that's an easy one that no one will pay attention to. Yeah, but no one's paying attention to that one. It's like the novelty one. You can sock that away and never look at it. There's no real regulation to that. Like, I wouldn't want to do it and be like, oh, I shorted blah, blah, blah and made whatever. Like, I don't want it anywhere near the stock market.
I was just saying any small cap crypto at that time would have gone nuclear. That's all I'm saying.
I just knew that Doge was mid-January.
Do you remember that show where the guy goes back to stop the JFK assassination? I don't know. It was the
James Franco one?
Yeah.
That was awful.
I forget what channel it wasn't. It was
you step into a closet and all of a sudden you're in the middle of Texas.
And he went back and he had all of the scores and that's how he was making money. But he wasn't doing it to get rich. That was just substance.
He could go back and forth, but it changed the amount of time that he was out or whatever. Right. But yeah, I mean, that's the easy way to get yourself started, where you just go bet a 6-team parlay in Vegas, and all of a sudden you're just all right, well, I've got a 15K nut to start, grinding this. Now I just need leverage or whatever. But the lottery play is the best one. It is. You wait it out 2 weeks, you win, nobody cares.
And you know what else? No, you play the same numbers every day for a while leading up to that. So it's these are my numbers.
It doesn't even matter. It's Powerball. Do you know
true.
anybody that's ever won Powerball? I don't even know anybody that's ever won the Cash 5.
I don't know anyone that's gotten 3 numbers in the Powerball. I used
That's what I'm
to
saying. Like,
till they up the numbers. Anyway, what's going on?
I think they
everybody?
kill those people.
Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB Deeper Dive presented by BetMGM. Awesome BetMGM promo we got going today. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Happy to have you guys with us as always. Hey, out of the gate, do me a, because we only get 24 thumbs up. One of those is mine. You haven't done so yet. Take 1 single second out of your day. You may be tired. You had a long day at work. I don't know how it goes, but show some love. Atone for your sins here on a Tuesday evening and hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and let's have some fun today. And of course, guys, if you ever listen to any of our shows and podcasts, specifically like Strategy Show and those with longer shelf life, leave a rating, a review. All that stuff goes a long way for us. Subscribe to the pod. We appreciate you for that as well. Ken, Atone, thank you, Ken. And all of you guys. We're almost at 50 out of the gate, so we're in business. How you feeling, brother?
I had a pretty big lunch of Mexican food, and now I'm struggling.
Yeah, I can see it. You know, it's funny. This is going to sound odd, but a lot of days, like I have these late hockey games. I had 9:30 hockey game last night. I didn't get home out of the shower till after 11. I got Wendy's on the way home. Just a big mistake. 10:30 Wendy's is 10:45 Wendy's, Josh, is never a wise decision.
You having a Baconator?
No, because last time I did that after a hockey, that's like my one, not cheat meal, right? But like the one time I'll stop and get food is after hockey. I'm like, dude, I did well, burned like 500. We're in business. Let me go put it all back on. I did the Baconator last week, the meal, and I woke up the next day just wanting to die. Yeah. But it's funny because it sounds weird, but when I'm in those slumps and I'm just tired and I don't want to do anything, if I do a show, I oddly feel better. And I think it's because I have to channel like hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? You got
to become a strip club DJ for an hour.
Yeah, it's like a fake it till you make it type deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, I'm right. I'll feel a lot better at 6 o'clock. I have no doubt. There's so much chicken, gooey cheese, chorizo, beans, and rice just laying in a brick in my stomach right now. Not to mention 2 Coronas and a basket of chips.
Oh, you're going to blow it out tomorrow morning.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Let's talk some baseball. 11
I have
games.
one more hypothetical for you. Oh, it'll be quick, I promise.
Okay.
I want to be careful with the verbiage here. So, Zion Williamson has been in the news lately, and not because he may be traded.
No, because that insane lady has just lost her mind over yeah, I got you.
What do you think his hammer is like?
Dude, are you serious right now?
It's got to be thicker around than it is long.
Yeah, you can't be doing this. I'm not doing. What are you doing? This is not the strategy.
Well, she said she was going to leak all these sex tapes and stuff. We're going to look at them. We know we're going to do this. Like, what? Let's not act like we're not going to see it.
You want me to speculate on?
Like, do you think it's proportional for him? Because that's got to be tiny but round.
So you're thinking like those
like a skull can,
like those party size soda cans.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Skull would be not fun.
Too short?
Yeah, you don't say. All right, let's talk. I'm not dude. If this is a strategy show, fine. I'm not doing this with you right now. This is a different audience, many of whom probably don't appreciate this type of conversation.
Well, now we're bringing them into the MLB sphere, man. We got to transition them over from NBA.
What I can to keep this on track. Welcome in, guys. Let's talk base. I cannot believe you. I mean, Seattle and the New York Yankees. Let's get into it. We got 11 games, and of course, after this, live before lock coming up. Greg and Neil, right, Jordan? Greg and Neil coming up, taking you up till first pitch. Seattle and New York, George Kirby, Garrett Cole. Seattle was actually a slight dog, plus 105 earlier this morning when I did the strategy show, minus 105 today. Let's get into pitching a little bit here. Fun matchup, 2 good arms at Yankee Stadium, but Kirby's just been one of those guys where he doesn't have an insane K rate, but he pitches insanely deep in the game, has as far as pitches per plate appearance goes, he's one of the best in the league, and he can go deep. He can also get you some Ks, but it's really just the longevity from start to start. What do you want to do with guys like him? And then on the other side, a lot of upside strikeout-wise in Garrett Cole today against the Seattle offense.
I don't have much to say on Kirby. I wish I liked him more than I do. I have 9% right now. He's projected for 16. It's an okay-ish strikeout spot. A couple spots in the Yankees lineup don't K all that much. Some spots do quite a bit more. Kirby so far this year, 0.167 X ISO to lefties. 0.124 to righties. Like, righties aren't getting there at all with him, but lefties in this park, it's a big time lefty power park. I don't want to say that I'm nervous about George Kirby, but like, I can see how he doesn't get to the tippy top today because of facing the Yankees. So I'm a little bit muted here. I would have liked it a little bit more. It's a big slate. I think there are a couple other pitching options in that same sort of Kirby tier, in that 7K, 8K range, that are a little bit more appealing to me. Cole, on the other hand, is the guy that I'm getting to sort of like the public. He's 30% owned. I think that he should be. Similar situation from a strikeout matchup for Cole. Other than JP Crawford and Ty France, like, everybody else is a pretty decent strikeout bet. Garrett Cole has obviously great strikeout stuff unless I pick him. 27% K rate against lefties this season, 25 against righties. So he's still mowing down, 26-ish% of everybody that he faces. I think the ownership is correct, even at 10-9. Do I love this spot against the Mariners? No, but I do think that he is the best pitching option on today's slate.
Yeah, I get it. I don't really think there's much to argue there. We've got him in the top pitchers tool at 30%. We do have him with negative leverage, though, 20% top 2 probability on DraftKings. Also, because there are a lot of pretty decent pitching options. Like, there's no crazy, 50% option today. But you do have some guys that stand out, some mid-range options as well. Kirby's pulling 17%. He does have some negative leverage as well, though, at minus. And oftentimes a lot of these guys will, by the way, that are getting like the majority of ownership. I guess the only thing with Kirby is that he's 8,700. So you're not really paying a premium on somebody like that. Now it's just a matter of, what do you think of the matchup? You know what I mean? And I think you pretty much spoke to it where you're at. The Yankees' active roster this season is striking out at a league average clip, 25th or 15th in the league. So right in the middle of the road. Although this Seattle roster, while they do have some pop, 156 ISO against righties, 25% K rate on the active roster, Josh. That is third highest in the league. So they do strike out.
Yeah, it looks pretty good on that end. Like, JP Crawford doesn't strike out a ton. France doesn't strike out a ton, like I said, but everybody else sort of does. And that'll work for me for Cole. And it's not like Cole needs a good strikeout matchup to rack up strikeouts. My only concern really is just the simple fact that, like, I think Seattle's good. I don't want to target against the Mariners. The run total really makes me feel a little bit better. Like, for it to be in this park in June, and the Mariners are still at 3.4, I have to be at least a mild believer in Garrett Cole. For
sure. What are the Yankees at then? 3 point?
I have it at 3.4 across the board, basically.
Okay. Yeah. 7-run total.
Yeah.
It's not easy to get the bats in this game. Is there any contrarian thinking that could get you to some of these bats today?
I don't really see it. I mean, if you're going to go to one side, I think you got to go to the Seattle side, just because you're getting on the opposite end of Garrett Cole. And that means that's 30% ownership instead of 16 for Kirby. But I don't really think there's much here. I have them as the number 19 and 20 stack overall. We're talking 22 teams. Neither one of them is exactly cheap either. Multiple 5K bats in the Yankees lineup. You've got Julio Rodriguez at 5,200. Not that those guys don't justify those prices, but I don't really see it. Maybe it's like yesterday, and all of these teams that are facing good pitchers just end up having big days. And it's an 11-game slate. Like, some team that looks like shit as a top stack is going to be a good stack today. This isn't a spot where I'm trying to find any hitters. If you're one-offing, pick really anybody in this scenario and it works. Like, if you want to one-off somebody in these games, that's fine. I don't see how you could prioritize the Yankees or the Mariners.
Let's keep it moving then. We got Chicago and Pittsburgh, Marcus Stroman, Johan Oviedo. Isn't it insane that we talked about it this morning, but 60% ground ball rate for Stroman? I mean, this guy,
it's nuts.
He's similar to Kirby in the sense that they both pitch deep in the games. And oftentimes they do enough in the way of strikeouts, even though it's not from, it's just based on volume alone.
Yeah.
Like just going deep into games. Stroman's numbers are remarkable, dude. He doesn't give up power. He doesn't give up fly balls. It gets you just enough Ks because he's out there for 7-8 innings in a lot of these spots. And he's basically the same price as Kirby. So just, I see them so similarly, and he's not in the worst of spots. He's also in a positive pitching park. What do you make of somebody like Stroman today?
I'd like to say that I like him, but that would not be the right way to say it. Like I do agree with like the pseudo Kirby comp here. I have 5% of Stroman. He's just never a guy that I'm going to get a lot of on a slate like this because there's so little strikeout upside. 21% K rate to righties and lefties over the past 2 years. He neutralizes all damage, 120 x ISO against both of those hands over the past 2 years too. So like, it's just one of those situations where you want to have Marcus Stroman if you're the Cubs. You don't really want to have Marcus Stroman if you're rostering him as a DFS player. They're not the same things. We don't get enough rewards for Stroman's pitching style in the DFS space. So I just don't think he picks up enough Ks, at least in comparison to all of the names that are around him.
Dude, chat's wild right now.
Why?
Well, no, I mean, just following up on your outburst earlier. Windy City
outburst.
I mean, your inquisitive nature when it comes to hammer size is alarming in and of itself. Although I can get why you were questioning that. Windy City super chatted us, Josh, just to say, what do you think his hammer is like with Josh? That should, dude, you should just make that your Twitter bio.
It would make a great shirt. I'm just saying, I don't know if we want to go that direction. If we're looking for new merch, I bet you a couple people will sell it or buy it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He's just such a uniquely shaped human being that I'm just curious.
It does make you think.
Like long and thin would be like hilarious and wouldn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, I'm not thinking spaghetti.
Right. That's what I mean. It would be, there's like a very clear path to it. Somebody else said fire hydrant. I like that comp as well.
I mean, yeah.
I bet you it's like a pug. Like you know what I mean? That's like a decent comp too.
Do you have any interest in Oviedo today?
OVA, no, I don't. 6,200, 1%. I have 1%. I mean, are the Cubs any good? Nah, not really. But Oviedo also isn't. If we just want to dig into Oviedo's numbers, I mean, like, I guess he's sort of like Stroman, only doesn't avoid the runs as much. More likely to put some guys on from walks, but he doesn't get hit hard. We're 120 x ISO across righties and lefties. It's a decent park. When Oviedo gets there, it's going to be one of those days where he goes like 5 2/3. He gives up 2 hits, but he only strikes out 3. It's just like a lot of ground balls and pop-ups, and those kind of start to scare me too much. I don't really have much interest going all the way down there in salary. I think there's a pretty clear line you can draw. Oviedo's below it.
God, I wish I was a fly on the wall for someone just discovering this channel for the first time and being like, sweet DFS content. Clicks on it. It's just like, hey, you think Zion's got a hog on him? Hey, what do you think? It's just something I've been tossing around up in my head all day. What do you think that hog looks like? And then,
be honest.
And then what's more interesting?
What's more interesting?
Don't. What's more interesting is your interest in Pittsburgh and Cubs bats. You can't get the Pittsburgh bats today with any confidence. Like what's the
free.
What's that?
They're free.
That's the thing. So from a value standpoint, they have a decent value score, but it's not that great. Dude, we have a negative leverage score on a Pittsburgh stack at 2% ownership. Like, I guess anything's possible. My issue is they're just going to be killing worms every time I should put context on that. That is something we refer to.
It's definitely bigger than a worm. Maybe like those worms from Tremors.
Do you think Do you think there's upside in stacking against Stroman though? Just given like
No.
you have that, they got to be those CNI hits. You know what I mean? They don't.
I mean, I don't even have this team as like a good power team. Only Jack Sawinski has a 170 or higher projected ISO. I have 3% of Bay. That's the most I have of a Pirate. I have one Pirates 5-man stack. Other than them being like a decent value, because McCutcheon at 4,400 is the most expensive guy in the lineup. That's the only appeal here. I don't know why you want to target against Stroman. And I don't really want to target against Oviedo either. Like, the park is good. The Cubs only have a 4.2 run implied total today. That's nothing to write home about in terms of the rest of the teams on today's slate. I have 5 Cubs 5-mans. That's not a lot. I think they're like a middle of the pack team. Neither one of these guys gives up enough hard contact to be like really interested in going up against them. Not in this park.
For sure. Humbled, what's up, brother? He said that was my exact experience with the hand washing episode. Been here ever since. Love you guys. That isn't it funny though to think about some people that join for the first time, like what show did they see first? You know,
man, there are probably people that have some memories of things that I've said that I have no recollection any longer that are like taglines in their brain.
Oh yeah, like was it our 600-pound life episode from the other week? Did someone join that for the first time and go, "What did I just experience?"
I tagged you and Ben in one on Twitter yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was, the 2K screen grab.
Oh, that was too good. Yeah.
That's making the rounds now. That's like all over my Instagram feed. I was like, yo, man, you guys got to be careful.
You pioneered that.
I
St.
sure
Louis,
did.
Washington, Jordan
Montgomery
going up against Mackenzie Gore. Man, we ran the MLB Sims tool earlier today on the strategy show. And Mackenzie Gore was showing up as a clear positive ROI player earlier in the day, just based on ownership and everything else. What do you make of him today? Just looking at a guy who, he can get knocked around a little bit, but he also has a strikeout rate that sits north of 27%, almost 28%, allowing 1.33 home runs per 9. So a bit of a mixed bag here, but an interesting one against this St. Louis team.
This is a very, very interesting spot for Gore. I have 4%. He's projected for 8K. Like the price, certainly strikeout upside. This is a guy with like a real strikeout rate. And, he's a hell of a prospect. Shout out to Whiteville, North Carolina. That said, 8 righties going up against Gore. Gore, 173 x ISO against righties these past 2 seasons. Obviously, primarily this season, 157, but he's been getting touched up by lefties this year. I'm nervous about the power potential, particularly in Washington. This park plays up power to both sides of the plate. I'm scared for Mackenzie Gore. I'm more scared that I don't have more of the Cardinals, who are getting some ownership here, and I think should be. But for right now, Mackenzie Gore might be the biggest boom bust pitching option for today.
I think so. But I also think that's why in the Sims tool, he's simulating such high ROI in the pre-contest sim, because you look at the ownership and you look at the upside on a guy like that. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
When it's bad, like, look, the goal is to win the contest that you're in. And a lot of the times it's going to go really bad for Mackenzie Gore. But the upside of Mackenzie Gore is the highest scoring pitcher on today's slate.
Adam was doing a great job of explaining it earlier today, like how the Sims tool works. And in the sense of like, someone's like, oh man, it loves this guy, or, it hates this guy. Oh no, it was someone goes, man, the Sims tool thinks Garrett Cole's going to get knocked around today. We were explaining like, it's not, and I understand why people might not understand, might not totally grasp that, because it is kind of a foreign concept to a lot of people. It's not that the tool thinks anything outside of like what is most profitable in the sense that you win or that you have those guys. So like the Indians could grade out as a good stack as far as top stack percentage, but relative to ownership, Josh, it's just not profitable enough to be this overweight on. I did it again. I told Adam it's going to take me 2 years to start calling them the Guardians.
It's really awesome when you're doing a nice read for our brand new product and all you're doing is just dead naming a former baseball team. Not helpful for us.
Dead naming. I'm sorry. indigenous peoples. No, the Guardians, when like they could be a great stack, but compared to ownership, that's why they might sim like, you know, -10 simulated ROI or something like that.
Yeah, it's really this added layer that you don't really think about, or at least you sort of do, but you don't really see it in practice, where you start to see those guys in the mid tier more than anything else. The guys that are like semi-frequent to be really good plays, but don't have the ownership, like the middle class of baseball teams on a slate. That's where you start to see those positive ROI numbers come in, because it's not a negative ROI. Like the Garrett Cole example is perfect. That doesn't mean it expects Garrett Cole to play bad. It's just that when Garrett Cole is doing well, you're not passing enough other teams because he's already owned, and vice versa. When Garrett Cole doesn't do well, you're getting jumped very easily by the teams that don't have Garrett Cole. That's really the aspect to it. The Sims tool doesn't really have any say in like the actual performance of a player.
Exactly. But it's a valuable one, and it's an awesome one. We demoed it today, post-sim and pre-sim on the, or post-contest and pre-contest on the strategy show. Link in the description and chat, by the way, if you're looking to get in on that Sims tool for MLB. We got PGA now too. Brandon Wagner said Met stack shipped everything last night. Prime example.
Yuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone talking about Drunk Adam being the like one of the best shows. Yeah, that was an incredible one. Many of you guys weren't around for this. This was 2019, but there was also a show where Adam started turning. Jordan, I just tweeted this or sent this to you. Put this on the screen. You are going to love this. Do you remember when Adam started turning green?
Yeah, progressively
turning into a viciously ill version of the Hulk.
Yeah.
It was what, and I'm sitting here trying to do a serious show, and I couldn't. Like at the end, he was dark green.
Well, the crazy part is that he didn't know.
He had no idea. No idea at all.
Oh man, that was good. Do you think about how often our shows used to like screw up?
Oh my God, yeah. Some of the OGs.
Adam would never have internet. Like
Jordan, yeah. It was the best, dude. It was the absolute best. See the screen? No. I mean, go back to the first one, Jordan, and just go through them one more time, because oh
man, it's so good.
Look how sick he looked. He looked like, you know, jaundice throughout the whole face, though, just full out liver failure. Holy shit.
It was so weird. So weird.
It does. It is Shrek. You're right, Josh. It is more like Shrek. I should have said that.
Donkey.
Oh, do you like?
I think I did a pretty good Shrek there.
Yeah, not bad. First of all, do you like Jordan Montgomery?
I do indeed. I have myself a little bit of Jordan Montgomery. I have 23% right now. We've got him projected for 15. I'm a little tiny bit higher on him than we are in the top pitchers tool. I had him at 13% top pitcher instead of 9, but we're not talking about anything too crazy. I just don't think the Nats are very good. I have them with a 311 team WOBA in this spot against a lefty. That is the second lowest hitting situation of any team on the slate. So 22 teams are playing today. I have the Nats as the second worst, only behind the Rockies. That's sort of the appeal for me. There's not a lot of talent on the opposite side for the Nats, and I'm willing to target them with Jordan Montgomery. So I like going to him at 7,400. This is one of those pay down options that I'm a little bit more interested in.
What about bats on either side of this game? Does anything stand out to you? Because as much as we could say McKenzie has definite tournament appeal, there is something to be said about the other side of this, in that he could just unravel.
Yeah, I gotta be, I'm surprised that we have the Cardinals as the #1 scoring stack for today. I gotta be honest with you. I don't know why that's happening. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me against Mackenzie Gore. We've got the Reds with a 5.7 run implied total today. They're basically a full run ahead of the Cardinals. To me, that should be Cincinnati. I do think that the Cardinals are a good stack. To me, they are one of the better teams that you can get to. They ranked very highly for me today in my contenders video, which you guys should be watching 6 days a week. So I understand why people are going to the Cardinals, because the park is nice. The Cardinals are still expected to put up a decent chunk of runs. I think they're probably around properly owned. Tommy Edman and Wilson Contreras are the only guys in double digits. So it's not like they're soaking up a ton of ownership, but they are fourth in the aggregate. I think that looks about right. I don't have them right now because I'm a little bit more nervous about the Gore spot, but I would not mind at all if I had Cardinal stacks.
Okay, that makes sense. Washington bats against the lefty?
No. I mean, they're cheap, which is helpful, but I don't like I said before, I don't find them to be very good. It's not like Jordan Montgomery's getting a shit ton of ownership. He's a really good pitcher. He's probably better than Mackenzie Gore right now, at least. I don't see it.
3% top stack probability, 2% ownership, 3% ownership, basically. Not a lot that stands out with Washington today. There are some other spots, some interesting games that we'll get to. By the way, hit that thumbs up if you haven't. Can we get to 100? We're 4 away from 100. It's certainly plausible. It should be expected that we get to. Yeah. Man, I almost want to reach for 200 today. I think it's doable.
I mean, that got us off to a pretty good start. Reward that.
Yeah, I think 200 is doable. If you haven't done so, take a second. I'm just here to remind you, we forget, and I don't blame you for it. No one's faulting you for it. It's not your job. You're not obligated to do it, but it is appreciated. Take a second, hit that thumbs up, and then we're back to business.
I got an even better goal. Can we get 1 like for every pound that Zion weighs?
Probably not, dude.
Well, not with that attitude, we can't.
What do you think? Is it like three bills?
Plus the hammer.
3 spins plus.
It's probably 3, right? Off season, hasn't played.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Luis Medina, Aaron Savali, Oakland plus 210 on the road against Cleveland. Plus 210, 9-run total here. Medina getting no ownership, and that should likely be the case. This guy just isn't very good. He held up for a little bit against Tampa Bay before things started to unravel last start. And then Savali on the other side of this one, 15% ownership. We do have him with pretty significant negative leverage against Oakland. I want to talk about some bats here, but first let's get into Savali. What do you make of this ownership compared to his top stack probability? Big discrepancy there today.
Yeah, I'm probably not the right guy to ask. I've got a ton of Savali today because I think he's just I think he's just really likely to go deep into this game, and the A's just aren't very good. I got Savali projected for 6 innings today. He is my most exposed pitcher at this moment in the mid-tier. He's the guy that I'm getting to. And so much of it is just because it's a great strikeout matchup against the A's. Ryan Noda, Brent Rooker both project for 30+% K rates. They've got 3 other guys at 27% or higher. As weird as this sounds, you wouldn't expect to hear these kind of numbers. 27% K rate to lefties for Savali over the past 2 years. Only 19% to righties. Obviously, there's a very clear reason why that's happening, but you're getting a lot of strikeouts. A's do have, do we have that official lineup yet?
Yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lefties in the lineup.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going back to make sure, I knew I had it, but I didn't know if it had dropped since then. Yeah, we're talking 4 lefties in the lineup. That is incredibly helpful for Savali. The park is fine. But I think Savali is really interesting in the mid-tier. Do I think he's like a great pitcher? No, I think he's basically average. He doesn't put a lot of guys on from a walk perspective, so that doesn't hurt him. There's not a ton of power in this A's lineup. Rooker and Seth Brown basically make it, and Noda, I guess, making up most of that. When I look at Savali, I just see a guy at 7,900 that's really easy to get to. And the real appeal to me is just that you see it in the implied total for the A's.
I really want to like Cleveland today, just given how bad Medina's been against both. I mean, righties, he has really struggled against righties. Both of the fastball and the slider, the 2 most frequently used pitches of his, 256 expected ISO against fastball to righties, 258 on the slider to righties. But at the same time, and by the way, not a lot of righties in this lineup today. Only you have Ramirez who bats switch, so he's going to be on the left side of the plate. Josh Bell switcher. Only 2 righties. It's not like Medina's been particularly good against lefties either, although he has limited power more against them. I guess the question though is, when you look at ownership on this Cleveland team, And I know the total is high in this game for what it's worth. And what's Cleveland's implied total at right now?
Depends who you ask, I guess.
On our site, we got them at 5-1.
I have them with the second highest, but
behind Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very high total, but also second highest ownership. And we have them with a 5.6% top stack probability. I guess this is just one of those things to ask yourself, like, is Cleveland the stack that you want to be overweight on an 11-game slate?
Yes and no. I think they're exceptional. I think they're much better than we do. I have them as my number 2 stack overall. And to me, they're free. Like Jose Ramirez is 5,200. Most expensive guy after that, Steve Kwan, 3,800. You can get to this Cincinnati or this Cleveland team very, very easily. And I think they look great. Their run total is obviously high. The park is good enough. Luis Medina is terrible, puts people on at an incredible clip, 12% projected walk rate. He's got like a 4.9 projected FIP from Steamer. I mean, he's closer to being out of the league just in what he's done in the majors in the past 2 years. Like we don't even have to go too crazy for this one. So in 245 pitches to lefties, basically a 200 ISO. He's thrown 448 pitches to righties, 250 x ISO. This guy gets tuned up by everybody.
And all of his pitches too.
I have no problem getting to the Cleveland bats. Are they already owned? Yeah, they're second in ownership right now. I have 13 5-mans. I'm basically with the field for Cleveland. I didn't see it as a spot where I wanted to go too aggressively over the field because on 11-game slate, like, it's just easier to find teams that aren't getting any ownership, that aren't that extremely different from Cleveland. And that's the way that I look at this scenario. I'm around the field for Cleveland, and that works. If you wanted to tell me this was the only stack you would take, I get it. They're probably the best overall stack on today's day. But okay, I'm neutral.
All right, I like it. So I guess you're not particularly interested in Oakland bats today then.
They're the most free of anybody. 3,200 to Ruiz in the leadoff spot. They only have 2 guys more expensive than 2,600. I just don't think you need that sort of salary savings. So I don't really want it. You want a one-off, or do you want to even go to like a 3-man or something? Maybe, but why? Just why?
Fair enough. That's great because we got plenty of games that we still got to get to anyway. Colorado and Cincinnati. Yeah. All right, here we go. 10-run total. Noah Davis, Ben Lively. This will get interesting for sure. Noah Davis is a pitcher that's for sure going to be picked on today. Cincinnati with the highest implied total on the slate at 5.6 runs. You're also talking about a very favorable park. It looks like the rain's not as much of a concern now as it was earlier in the day either, unless you're seeing something different.
No, it's not anything I'm worried about. As of right now, I wouldn't be making any decisions based on weather.
But I want to start with Lively here. 18% ownership. We do have him at 13.5% top 2 probability. Referencing, by the way, top pitcher, top stacks tool. For those of you guys wondering, 50% off all of our tools for the week or for the month, for one sport, for every sport, including our premium Discord. The lineup generators included in that as well. So if you have yet to check all of that out and you're wondering what we're referencing, all of that's in the description and in chat. If you wanted to jump in, get 50% off the top. But yeah, Lively, definitely interesting here. Colorado, one of those teams today where you look at them and you say, okay, they're not a very good offense. We know that to be the case, but they do have a pretty significant implied total in a hitter-friendly park, 4.8 runs. But Lively, he is live. Definitely no pun intended there, but he is live for a decent start against a pretty rough Colorado Rockies team away from Coors Field.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Is the matchup good? Yeah, the Rockies are awful. They're the worst hitting team on the slate. When they're outside of Coors, it's bad. They strike out a lot, but like Ben Lively's not good. I would argue that he's below average. And in this run environment in Cincinnati, in this park, I'm shocked. Like, just think about this for a second. If this game were in Coors, Ben Lively's not 18% owned. People run away from pitchers in Coors. This is just as bad today in Cincinnati. I have no idea why he's getting 18% ownership on an 11-game slate. You're not forced there at all. Play Reed Detmers at 6,900 if you want. Like, is that all that different? Play Oviedo at 1/3 the ownership if you want, and try to actually get somebody that can go deep in this game. I just don't see it. 23% K rate this year so far. Great. He's not walking anybody. He's come back from the KBO after 2 years, mildly reinvented himself. No projection systems think he's anything other than just like a meh guy. He's meh to me. I don't want pitchers in this park.
I think look, and I get what you're saying. I wouldn't put Great American in the same sentence as Coors. I'd put it in the same paragraph. I put it in the same paragraph. I don't think I put it in the same sentence. Colorado away from Coors, 78 WRC plus, 28% K rate. But again, yes, you have to adjust that for the fact that they're in Great American and this isn't like they're not in San Francisco. I totally understand that. But what I'm saying though is I think
I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna disagree with you. Past 3 years at StatCast, park factors, 111 to Coors, 108 to Great American Ballpark. Home run park factor in Coors, 109. In Cincinnati, 130.
Yeah, well, Coors, people think that Coors is like a notorious homer park. It's a super cavernous outfield, and there's a ton of extra base hits. It's not like, where's Coors rank as far as home run goes?
Coors was 109 park factor. The Reds was 130. That's a rolling 3-year score. For just runs, it's 123 for scoring in Colorado, 117 for Cincinnati.
Right. So no, I get. You know what? Fair enough. I'll retract that. You're right. I mean,
would you agree? We wouldn't see Ben Lively at 18% if this game just flip flopped its location.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Rockies are still absolute dog shit though. And I think that's ultimately what it boils down to, right?
Yeah. I look at the Rockies implied total, and then I look at how many teams have an implied total less than the Rockies today. And that's where it starts to like just not add up to me.
Wow. Rockies WRC plus at home is 26th in the league.
If you sort our top stack chart table, whatever, by team total, 2, 4, 6, 8. The Rockies are 9th out of 22. Pittsburgh, Seattle, the Mets, the White Sox, the Yankees, the Angels, the Astros, the A's, the Red Sox, the Nats, they're all at 4.4 or below. Colorado's at 4.8. Like, there are so many teams that aren't projected to score that many runs that, like, why is Lively getting the respect if the Rockies are not getting the discount in scoring? Like, one of those things don't make sense.
With that in mind, do you have any interest in Rockies bats?
I do. I've got 10 5-man stacks. I'm basically neutral to the field. We have them as the top 7, or we have them as the 7th and top stack. That's exactly where I have them as well. I'm looking to get bats in this park more than anything else that I want to do. But I think the Colorado side looks good against Lively. I don't think that he's that great of a pitcher. I think the Cincinnati side is the best side that you can get to today. They're taking on Noah Davis, who is equally as not interesting. I had it yesterday. It was not as eventful as I wanted it to be. I'm going right back to it. I have 35-man red stacks. I'm holding hands with the field at this point, but this is my number 1 overall stack because this park is so hard to ignore.
You're right. Yeah. And it's not super hot there, but it's still still going to be a warm night at Great American. Yeah.
Yeah.
We always
76 degrees, 70,
we always used to say after it rained in Great American, you're just going to see like 100 home runs in that park.
I wish it would drizzle.
All right. So a lot of bats, not a lot of pitching. Talk about Boston, Minnesota. Cutter Crawford. Hey, Cutter Crawford. He's from the Bayou, Josh.
Does he? I don't know.
You remember what was it called? Was it American Loggers or
no?
It was on the History Channel. And there was one guy, Shelby Stenga, and he was out there. He was a swamp logger, and he would go down, he would dive down, and he would recover.
Trees? What's he recovering?
Yeah.
Underwater trees? Maybe we should send this guy to go find that submarine.
Good luck getting them down 2.5 miles.
Hey, if anybody could do it, man, it's some dude from the Bayou.
Shelby the Swamp Man Stenga, baby. He would get bit by like water moccasins and poisonous snakes and just shake it off and go back to work. Guy was.
Dude, I get bit by a mosquito and it ruins my night.
That's what I'm saying. This guy was incredible. I mean, real man's man. You know what I mean? Although they don't get much love these days. Anyway.
Wow, people not liking Oviedo.
Cutter Crawford against Bailey Ober.
Yeah.
Any interest in pitching today? You like Ober today against Boston?
How did you land on that? Like, what brought up the Cutter Crawford? He's from the Bayou thing.
He's not. He's actually from Okeechobee, Florida.
Yeah. Now it's even weirder.
Which is 730 square miles, but the average depth is only 9 feet in the Okeechobee Lake. Okeechobee.
Why are you talking like Joe Biden?
Because I was
Okeechobee.
I was looking this up today on the strategy show. I was like, this guy's got to be from the Bayou. He's got to be Cutter Crawford's got to be from the Bayou, but he's not. He's from Okeechobee. And then I was like, damn, I saw it on a map. So that lake looks big. And I started doing some digging. But anyway.
You didn't get very far. It's only 9 feet.
His Instagram is Crawdaddy1.
Oh, that's sad, man.
Nah, he seems cool. His name's Cutter Crawford with a K.
I mean, what's his real name?
Cutter. Dude, his real name is Cutter. His name is Cutter Martin Crawford.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway.
And his brother's name is Jonathan.
Do you like pitching from this game?
I like your boy Cutter Crawford straight from the Bayou. I got 15%. If I'm going to pay down, that's the way that I want to go. And it's not like I like targeting the Twins. There's a lot of power in this lineup that could really give you a bad day. But there are a lot of strikeouts in this lineup, and that could give you a good day. And I think that's sort of the more interesting piece. Now, let's be clear here. Lefties beat the living shit out of Cutter Crawford in a very aggressive manner. Does he strike him out? Sure does. 29% K rate against lefties over the past 2 seasons. Doesn't strike out righties. Unfortunately for us, though, Cutter Crawford gives up bombs to lefties. 228 expected ISO over the past 2 seasons. So watch out for like Max Kepler. Joey Gallo is probably salivating. If Joey Gallo has an at-bat today that against Cutter Crawford that doesn't end in a strikeout or a home run, that's going to be a very interesting day, because with the amount that Gallo just strikes out and hits dongs and the amount that Cutter Crawford strikes out people and gives up power, that is a match made in heaven for someone. So we're going to get one, two, three. We're going to get 4 lefties. Willie Castro probably should bat from the left side at this point, but we're going to get 4 lefties. That gets a little scary, but you can also tack on a couple extra strikeouts too if it breaks the right way for Crawford. At 5,400, I think he's worth rolling that dice because of that strikeout upside against lefties. He's much more likely to keep the Correas and Buxtons in check. 19% K rate, so he's not striking those guys out, but 0.099 ISO against righties over these past 2 seasons. If he can neutralize the high-end hitters in the Twins lineup, he has a chance to mow down a lot of the lefties. If people start getting on against him, he's probably going to give up like a light tower home run to someone like Joey Gallo late. So boom bust, but I'm willing to do that at 5,400. His price tag brings him into play.
Yeah, dude, 2 home runs per 9 to lefties this year. Two home runs per 9.
Not great.
I was trying to see what Gallo's home run prop was over on OddsShopper.
Yeah.
Plus 340 on FanDuel. Yeah, that's the best spot. FanDuel usually gives you the best odds on that. Plus 290 everywhere else. Yeah, if you like.
Are you sure BetMGM doesn't have the best odds? You can even get $1,000 of bet credits too.
Dude, BetMGM today has, if you sort by our highest ROI bets, over on OddsShopper, our highest EV bet. Sorry, BetMGM has, or if you sort by highest bet percentage, bet size, BetMGM right now has 5 of the top 7. Josh, so yeah, the odds on BetMGM right now are significant. Kyle Bradish strikeouts. Oh, Cutter Crawford strikeouts. There you go. Over 4.5 makes sense against Minnesota.
Over 4.5.
Yeah, minus 155. But here's the thing. Every other book right now has it at 5.5. there's a bunch of them out there that have over 5.5 slightly juiced. So over 4.5 on BetMGM, clear good play. 12% EV on that. Wow.
I got him at 5.4, so I like the line.
There you go. Yeah. And I mean, with OddsShopper, it's not even projections based. It's just shopping the market. But it doesn't hurt to have both of them align. You know what I mean?
No. I like just seeing that my number is like, it makes me feel a lot better knowing that my projection, independent of the lines, is in the realm of the line. That makes me feel better when I'm getting a $5,400 pitcher. It's like, it's not as if I have him projected for 9 strikeouts and like I'm just juicing him for some reason. Based on his numbers, I think that becomes a very interesting play at 5,400. Bailey Ober, not so much.
For sure. And yeah, BetMGM. I told you I'd mention it earlier. We have a link in the description and in chat. If you weren't paying attention before, pay attention to this because it's an amazing deal. Not only when you sign up there, you're getting a first bet insurance up to $1,000, which means no matter how much you deposit up to $1,000, your first bet up to 1K is insured. If you lose, you get that all back in free bets. That, a lot of people see like the bet 10 and get $200 in bonus bets as a better promo. It might be, but not if you can deposit a little bit more, because the fact that you get it all back in bonus bets, you now have 2 opportunities. It is the better promo out there, hands down. Might not seem like it on the surface, but it's amazing. I'll tell you what's better than that though, Josh. You got to use the link, otherwise we can't track it.
Yep.
You get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. So a lot of these people that hear all the Prize Pick stuff we do and they go, this sucks. I'm not in an eligible state for Prize Picks, but I can bet legally, and I do, or I don't, but I'd still do it anyway because I'm getting a free month of all of our DFS tools, everything for every sport. Sign up at BetMGM. You deposit $10 using the link. You have everything on our site, $120 value for the entirety of the month, including the premium Discord. What's better than that?
Nothing. I cannot wait to be able to take advantage of it soon. I'm hoping right at the beginning of the year, North Carolina is going to go live and I can just unload into all of these sports book bonuses across the board. Everything we've got, I'll hit to the max the moment I can.
You're going to be in such good shape. Like Bet365 is coming to me soon. It's supposed to. It's the bet $1, get 365, all of those. But this bet
I don't need more sources to play slots, man. This is gonna be bad for me.
Yeah, it's not. I stopped playing slots. I stopped myself. Now it's strictly sports betting on these books.
I had to stop hanging out with Ben.
Yeah, I got in some trouble, dude. But anyway, check it out. BetMGM. First bet insurance up to $1,000 and a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Every single tool on our site, the entirety of the month. Why do we do this? Simple. Because we think that you're going to win. We think that you're going to love the tools. And in doing so, you'll stick around. You're getting ownership, top stacks, top pitchers, top hitters, player projections, not just for baseball, by the way. MMA, NASCAR, PGA, tennis, like every sport, especially during the dog days of summer. Go ahead. You don't need to know these sports to understand that these tools can help you win. And now you don't have to inject your own personal biases that'll probably lead to you losing. So check it out. Link in the description and in chat. All of that. Just deposit $10 and you got it. And if you ever have any questions about this stuff, hit me up on Twitter. My handle's Laffy_D right under me. DMs are open. All right. New York Mets, Houston Astros. Josh, you got Verlander on the bump today. On the other side of this one, you got Framber Valdez. Do you want to pay for Valdez? And are you okay with this mid-range price point on Verlander at a low 7K price point tonight?
I am for both to a degree. I have 11% Valdez. I have him basically right in line with us. He's projected for 16% ownership. 10,200 is a really big price tag. He's just good and he goes deep into games. Do I like this spot against the Mets? Absolutely not. These guys don't strike out. I mean, first 4 hitters in the lineup project lower than 20%. Jeff McNeil legit doesn't K. So it's not a good strikeout matchup. I do love the fact that the Mets implied total is low. That bodes well for Framber Valdez. So I have a little bit. I don't have a ton just because the matchup, it's hard to get to him in an aggressive manner. Verlander, on the other hand, I guess we need to talk about, right? It's 7,300. I mean, should he be 7,300? 21% K rate this season. He's getting bombed against lefties. he has gotten bombed against righties, but maybe it hasn't been as bad. So we're talking like a 175 x ISO type dude. Doesn't appear to be himself, but 4-run implied total is still mildly limiting Houston in this spot. I have 2x the field. If we've got him at 6%, I have 12. I'm always going to want to take a shot on Justin Verlander if he's going to be 7,300. Even if he doesn't seem to be himself any longer. Like, if he had a good night with Kate last night, like maybe he's feeling better.
He made his debut on the 4th of May at 10,800. He's now 7,300. And Adam had mentioned too, K rate's down, but he's had some pretty difficult matchups as well. He really has. He's had a couple easy ones, but even the one in Colorado or against Colorado was in Colorado. Started the season off against Detroit, but then Cincy had 2 nice starts there. Then Tampa Bay, Cleveland had a great game there. In Colorado, got lit up. Toronto, and he had a nice start there. Atlanta got beat up, but that's Atlanta. And then the Yankees, and he had another decent start. Look, I don't think he is who he once was. He's, almost 41 years old. I think he's like 40 and a half or whatever. But still, at that price, he really hasn't been bad this season.
He's fine. He's like a league average starter now. You just have to, it's really hard to recalibrate him knowing his name. Like nothing is interesting. 4.4 xFIP. Like, he's just that guy now. And as a 40-year-old future Hall of Famer, it's hard to read. Like, I wish we could just change his name, because I think you would look at him a little bit differently at 7,300.
But he's been more erratic and inconsistent than anything else. Listen to his last 7 starts. Just DraftKings points. 29, -0.8, 28, -2.8, 23, -1.9, 21.7. So maybe this is a negative game that he's due for. But isn't that crazy? He has 3 negatives mixed in with a 29, 28, 23, and 22.
Boom bust there. And like looking through his like velocity and stuff, there's nothing. It's not like his fastball's 3 miles an hour or less or anything. Like, nothing's really fallen off. He's less than a mile per hour less than last year. It's 0.5 of a mile per hour on his fastball, slower than it was 3 years ago. So 2020. Like, I don't know. I think it's just a little bit older and a little bit worse. That still works for me at 7,300. The matchup is the real problem here, but he's getting respect in the markets, and that's really all that matters to me.
For sure. What about Valdez?
I like him, and he's exceptional at avoiding giving up runs. Mm-hmm. The Mets are really good. To me, the second best offense on today's slate is the New York Mets. So with Valdez being priced appropriately and the fact that this matchup is what it is, I like being neutral. Something in that 10 to 15% range works better for me. I don't have much to say about Valdez. Like, it's just,
no, that's fine.
Is he good? Yeah. Should he be 10-2? Yeah. Is this matchup really hard? Yeah.
Any bats in a 7.5 run total game?
No, not at all.
Texas and the Chicago White Sox, Eovaldi, Dylan Cease. Yeah, Eovaldi continues to be the highest priced pitcher on the slate. It is interesting. There's no doubt about it. Going up against this White Sox team as well. He's another one of these guys that can pitch extraordinarily deep into games, and he's going to get you a decent amount of strikeouts along the way. Like, that's just who he is. He just pitches super deep into games. He's extremely efficient. He's also extremely expensive on an 11-game slate where you have other options to target. So how do you deal with something like that?
I like him. 7% ownership to me is a little low. I have 15%. I'm happy to pay up all the way to get a little bit more. Like, I would rather, like, right now I'm basically flip-flopping the ownership of Valdez and Eovaldi. I'm playing a little bit more Eovaldi. I'm playing a little bit less Valdez. I see these guys as basically pretty similar. I would much rather have Eovaldi's matchup. The park is worse for sure, but I would rather face the White Sox than the Mets. Eovaldi over the past 2 years, like a 24% strikeout rate, does tend to give up a little bit of power to lefties. That won't matter so much for Andrew Benintendi, but Gavin Sheets could be a guy that you want to focus on if you want to try to buy a home run. He just looks generally good for today. The problem is I think Garrett Cole looks better even against the Mariners. You see the difference in the implied run total. That helps me out a little bit. But getting to, like, if you want to take some of that Cole at 30% owned, or if you want to say Kershaw's over owned at 22%, I don't mind giving it to Eovaldi. There's enough cheap bats out there on an 11-game slate that, or, do it like this. Take Eovaldi and Cutter Crawford, like I mentioned before. Then you're not spending all that much on pitching either way, and you can still get to whatever bats you want. But I don't mind going to Eovaldi. The price is fine.
So we got 700 people watching right now, Josh. We got a few games to go here. 175 likes.
120 more, and we can get the Zion's weight.
That'd be what did we put it at? Around 300?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think saying 300 is the safe bet.
300 likes in honor of Zion Williamson's weight.
Yeah.
At the very least, let's get to 200, but 300 would be incredible stuff.
284 if you Google him. Don't Google him right now. Don't say a word. I have a question for you. And I promise you it's not about his hammer. How tall is Zion?
6'9".
6'6".
Really?
Yeah. That's why I'm saying the shape of this thing is probably really unique.
He can't be 6'6". That can't be.
6'6", 284 is the Wikipedia listing. So
yeah,
when it's not great, it's 6'6", 320.
Bro, they had him listed at 284 when he was going through that thing where they were, he was noticeably obese and they were talking about it. And they were saying, like, behind the scenes, he was clocking in at 310 or something, and they still had him listed at 284. Anyway.
Wild, dude. Wild.
Do you like Dylan Cease? We talked about Eovaldi a little bit here, but they're, by the way, minus 140 on the road for the Texas Rangers today. The pitching matchups, let's wrap this up, talk some bats, because we got a few games to go after this.
Sure. I don't have Cease. I'm a little bit lower. I generally am a little bit lower on Cease. The Rangers bats are good. There's not a ton of strikeouts in here. Semien and Seager don't strike out all that much. And that just sort of turns Texas into a not interesting matchup regularly. That said, 19% ownership coming into Cease. I look at Cease right now. I prefer Savali a little bit, although there's certainly upside. I mean, Cease this season, 32% K rate to righties. That said, he's getting Seager, Lowe, Jonah Heim, Robbie Grossman, Tavares, like all either switch hitters or lefties. So this doesn't feel like the best possible Dylan Cease spot. I'm okay being lighter on him today, but certainly some strikeout upside. I just don't like this strikeout spot for Cease.
Any bats in this one you want to get to?
Not a ton. We're a bit higher on the Rangers than I am. There's certainly some upside here. I don't mind that run total at all for Texas. I'm pretty muted. I have 3 Texas 5-mans. If you want to go to the White Sox here against Eovaldi and try to get really weird, I mean, they are ultra cheap. Eloy Jimenez at 4K, most expensive bat in the White Sox lineup. Everybody else 3,400 or below. I get the idea if you want to take advantage of this particular park and try to hope that this is the Eovaldi day. The problem is he's not pulling enough ownership to really want to get on the opposite side of a good starter. So while Chicago's free, I don't think today is the day you try to utilize that because you don't gain as much trying to attack Eovaldi.
Let's talk about Arizona and Milwaukee today. This is one of those spots where pretty decent park, Ryan Nelson, Colin Rea. Ryan Nelson, looking at this guy against lefties this season, it's been a struggle, no doubt. What's that?
Oh, I'm excited to talk Brewers. Let's get
okay. Yeah, let me set the table for you. 244 X ISO, 423 X WOBA. And by the way, actual ISO 256, 434 actual WOBA for Nelson, 7% swinging strike rate against lefties. It doesn't get any better than that either. 1.7 home runs per 9, 11% K rate. Lefties have tuned this guy up this year. Milwaukee, middle of the road in ISO against lefties this season. What do you make of the Brewers today on the left side of the plate?
Love them. This is my most exposed 5-man stack. They're basically a third of my current 5-mans. I had them 4th in top stack. I love the run total. I love the matchup. 218 X ISO to lefties for Ryan Nelson over the past 2 years. Christian Yelich in the leadoff spot, getting extra, as many plate appearances as he can get against Ryan Nelson. He'll have the most of them for the Brewers. Cannot beat that situation. Winker will have enough pop. Rowdy Tellez is liable to put one of these things on the moon today, taking on Nelson. Tapia doesn't really have that pop, so that would be a fun one to try to steal. You're getting all of these quality lefties. And it's not like Nelson just goes out there and mows down righties. We're talking about an 18% K rate and a 150 X ISO. It's not good no matter what. It's just extra bad to lefties. This is the team I want the most. On an 11-game slate, this is the team that I am trying to corner the market on. If they go big, the money's mine.
Ooh, okay.
We have Christian Yelich at 10% ownership. The most owned player in the rest of this lineup is 6%. I would like significantly more of the Brewers than that.
I didn't run the pre-contest sim again. I'm pretty sure, and Jordan may be able to confirm, when we ran it this morning in the MLB Sims tool, I'm almost certain that Milwaukee was popping at the top as far as stack sim went. Stack sim percentage.
I believe
ROI.
They're not pulling any ownership. The pitching matchup is great. It's a really solid park for power. If we just want to look at the general rating for power, where we had 111 park factor for home runs. This park plays generally down for runs. It certainly plays up for righty and lefty power. This is a bad spot for Nelson. I love attacking here. This is the team that I want to get to because they're not owned. We're shouting out teams like the Guardians, the Reds, even the Diamondbacks pulling some ownership.
Who are the Guardians?
Yeah, exactly. Like the Diamondbacks are twice as owned as the Brewers right now.
I know.
If you could explain that one to me, I would love it because I don't see that at all.
No, look, I think we're on the same page here. He's been clobbered by lefties.
It's not even that. Like the Brewers are the favorites in this game. They've got a higher run implied total. I don't think that they're all that different from an offense perspective. Say what you want about the pitchers, like obviously Colin Ray, and like the Diamondbacks have to face the better pitcher.
Oh, no doubt about it. I'm just saying you got three lefties in the top 5 of this lineup and then some other guys that can hit for a little bit of power. Like it is not the best spot for him at all.
No, I just like, I'm shocked that the Diamondbacks are twice as owned as the Brewers in our ownership right now.
It is surprising for sure. There's no doubt about it.
I don't see anything that would lead me to that conclusion.
Maybe just that the Brewers, haven't been great.
I guess
that would be my only assumption.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
I don't know. But they have a 5-run total. Arizona's games basically a pick 'em as far as, but not a pick, you know what I mean? But like the money line is essentially even money here. Yeah. So yeah.
Love it.
Any bats for Arizona you want to get? Any Arizona bats you want to touch on?
I do like them. I just think that they're like essentially properly owned because I don't think Colin Ray is anything special on the opposite side. Obviously, I think the park plays up power. It just, for me, the ownership is already there. Like Corbin Carroll, 5,700, heavily owned at 19%. If you're trying to work to him in a cash game, I get it. This is a really nice spot to try to buy a home run, but in a high-level GPP, like I just don't have as much interest in Corbin Carroll in this spot. So I'm not getting to much of the Diamondbacks. It's mostly an ownership problem. We have them 5th in the top stack score. I have them 5th there. So I see the scenario where the Diamondbacks are good, but if their ownership is already there, I just want the opposite side of this game.
Is it reasonable for me to say in this San Diego and San Francisco game that we will not be targeting Seth Lugo and Anthony DeSclafani with a lot of enthusiasm today or at all?
I don't have a single share of either guy.
Okay. So with that in mind then, and by the way, we are 5 likes away from 100. We just lost a like, which is likely someone popping in late and starting from the beginning and hearing Josh's Zion Hammer discussion. I don't blame you, but there's got to be 5 people out there that can get us to 200 here. Wrap the show up, turn it over to Greg and Neil for Live Before Lock. Do you like bats in this game if we're not on any pitching?
A little bit. Sorry, Adam's sending me DMs right now, so I was trying to respond. I feel like him not listening to you, but I do like bats in this game.
He's like, did he DM you? It's definitely a tuna can.
No, I don't think he's watching, surprisingly.
OMG Laws, welcome to Team Stochastic, brother. Appreciate it. Hit that join down below. You want to get the free super chats, custom emojis, and everything else, including that badge. See a sweet badge? I got a nice badge too. We're gonna have a new one too for what, like 3 years or something since we're coming up on it. Anyway, bats from this. bats from this game?
Yeah, I like the Padres side of this one. In particular, like the bats that matter. These guys are unknown. DeSclafani on the opposite side. A love-hate relationship with DeSclafani. So we know that hitting home runs in San Francisco, not the best spot to do it. Power's a rough ride here. But Anthony DeSclafani gives up big-time power to lefties. Juan Soto looking awesome today. 6% owned Juan Soto. That's what we have right now. Give me Juan Soto over 19% owned Corbin Carroll today, if I'm trying to be a little bit different in a GPP. Jake Cronenworth has enough power. Matt Carpenter certainly has the power. Trent Grisham has the power. A lot of lefty guys here. 12% ownership to Fernando Tatis. 6 to Juan Soto. I have 21, by the way. And if there's anybody out there that doesn't like getting to 4x the field on Juan Soto, stop playing DFS. The rest of this team is no more owned than 2%. This is the best offense on today's slate. I don't think that it's particularly close. The reason they only have a 4.4 run implied total is just simply that they're in San Francisco. We've seen a couple teams with those sorts of implied totals today that aren't getting that love. Not to mention, they're on the road, so they're going to get all 9 innings worth of at-bats. This lineup is loaded. There's plenty of power. Anthony DeSclafani can't get a lefty out to save his life, whether striking them out or just stopping them from hitting a ball to a different planet. I have a lot of these guys. I have at least 10% of all but 3 of them. I'm over 20% of Juan Soto. This is another sneak team to me because they are 3% owned in the aggregate. I have 13. They're making up 21 of my 150 stacks. I'm going to hitch my wagon to San Diego and hope they just pound DeSclafani.
Okay. Just pound him with a Zion hammer.
Yeah.
Right on the mound.
Oh man, I'm so curious. I hope these tapes get leaked.
Hey, appreciate you guys getting us over 200 likes. Coming up on the last game today. How many years do you think Kershaw's been in the league, if you had to guess? I mean, don't take all day.
17.
Close, 16. Pretty amazing, though, that, he's still sitting at 29.3% K rate, right? Modest 6% walk rate on the season, 14.8% swinging strike rate. I mean, guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
How much do you want to get to or how much Kershaw, I should say, do you want to get to today? He's our second highest owned pitcher in the top stacks tool. As far as top 2 probability goes, he is tied with Framber Valdez for second.
Yeah, I'm not interested. I got 3%. He's 22% owned. This is a guy I'm trying to get away from. I don't have any major problems with him. He's not striking out lefties so far this season. He is having no trouble striking out righties. He's going to face a large amount of righties. Only Shohei Ohtani, probably the lefty that he will be going up against. Look, is Kershaw good? Yeah. Last top pitcher tool that I pulled from us, 16% top 2 pitcher, pulling 22% ownership. I think he's a little over-owned given the price tag, given the matchup against the Angels. There's a lot to be nervous about on the opposite side, whether that's Ward, Ohtani, Trout, Drury, Renfroe, a lot of power in those first 5 guys. Could he go out there and just have a monster day? Yeah, he's still ultra talented, but I'm a little nervous that he's overpriced in this matchup. I'm surprised to see him pulling as much ownership as he is. I don't even think that I have him negatively projected at all, but I would rather go to Framber Valdez than Kershaw today.
Really? You'd rather go to Valdez over Kershaw, huh? Okay.
I would. Slightly less ownership, slightly cheaper. I mean, I look at the implied total of the Angels and the Mets, and I see a pretty sizable disparity.
Yeah, I guess the only upside here is that the Angels do strike out at a pretty decent clip, top 10 clip against lefties on their active roster. That's the one out, obviously, for Kershaw. And for Kershaw, it's entirely doable. But I guess what you're saying here, though, is you're paying for it with the current ownership. It's not like he's unowned in a reasonably tough matchup against the power-laden Angels team.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking at. He's appropriately priced and getting the ownership. And at an ownership number that is higher than our current top pitchers tool, it doesn't make him if you're just if this is a tiers contest, you like Clayton Kershaw, but on a day where you have to balance those things, is paying $600 more for Nathan Eovaldi that much worse here? No, I mean, the White Sox and the Angels have comparable, like basically the same implied total. Now you can get 1/3 the ownership. Like, to me, that's just a very easy way to get a little bit different but you're not really giving anything up.
Sure. Hey, Reed Detmer on the other side. Detmer's on the other side of this one. This is, look, kind of the opposite of George Kirby in a sense. Like, he pitches per plate appearances up. He labors through games at times, but he does have a very high K rate, undoubtedly 27.5%, I think, 13% swinging strike rate. He also, interestingly enough, for a guy like this, sometimes you would think that he'd give up a lot of power because oftentimes he struggles to pitch deep into games, and we've seen a whole lot of that, right? But recently it's been, 5 innings. He's just, look, he's gotten through 6 innings once this season, Josh. That's pretty crazy. Twice this season, but he doesn't give up a lot of power and he strikes batters out.
Yeah, the problem here is there aren't a lot of strikeouts in the Dodgers lineup, and the Dodgers lineup is the Dodgers lineup.
It's a scary matchup for sure.
Normally, I'd be pretty interested in a $6,900 Reed Detmers. I don't think today is that day.
Man, very cheap though, but
yeah, that's just that's a weird one to want to target in the late night hammer here.
I get it. 5.9% ownership though, 9.5% top 2 probability in the top stacks tool. There is some positive leverage here, but this is another one of those. The problem is it's hard to even say boom bust with Reed Detmer because it's kind of tough to see a boom type performance here. Like a solid performance, yeah. What does he need to have a boom performance on an 11-game slate?
I mean, he's got to strike out basically everybody. As weird as that sounds.
Like 8-9 Ks, probably very limited runs.
No runs, honestly.
At least 5 innings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, which is, like Mookie Betts doesn't K, Freeman doesn't K, Will Smith doesn't K, Miguel Rojas doesn't K, Vargas barely Ks. I just don't want to go that there. Like, I'd rather have Cutter Crawford today, just given everything that's going on.
Any interest in bats? We got to wrap this one up. Turn it over to Live Before Lock.
No, not really. No real ownership coming into the Angels side. I don't think you want to target against Kershaw. Dodgers are 5th in aggregate ownership. A lot of that is Betts and Will Smith. I don't see this as a team that I want to like 5-man all that frequently. But, if you want to pick off individual spots here, I think that probably works a little bit better. Grab some righties, somebody that could be in the lineup later when when they're facing a bullpen that doesn't have Detmers. I'm surprised they're getting as much ownership as they are. They're sort of like the Padres and the way that I describe the Padres, but Anthony DeSclafani is significantly worse than Reed Detmer. So I'd rather just have the Padres version of paying for really good dudes.
Hey, follow Josh Engleman at
Go ahead. Zion's hammer.
It was going to be something like that. My best was Josh Shingleman when you had the shingles. I mean, that one's right there for you. Not a lot of creativity. That was chef's kiss right there.
Yeah. I mean, that one's made for it. That's a common joke.
How would I know? Josh Engleman on Twitter at Josh Engleman, me at Laffy_D. Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing this one. As always, appreciate you guys. It's been a very fun show. Crushed 200 likes. Remember, BetMGM, 1 free month of Stochastic, $120 value. All of our tools, link in the description and in the chat. Just deposit $10 when you sign up and put it on any bet you want. You also have the $1,000 first bet insurance on that as well. 50% all of our tools. If you're not able to get BetMGM and everything else down there, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll see you back here for the next one. Peace. Yo, it's a new week, which means another edition of inducting you fine people into the Hall of Fame right here on the Stochastic YouTube channel and giving out some free months of Stochastic Plus Platinum to everyone who qualified. $120 value, and all you got to do to get involved, go to stochastic.com/avatar, download the profile picture, use it wherever it is you play, and if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, tweet your wins to us at StochasticHOF. Get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame, and let's get into it for the week. First up, Jordan Frank, sad that the NBA season is ending, but not a bad way to close it out. $75,000 to Jordan Frank in the NBA Showdown, final game of the season. Shout out to Jordan, huge win there. And how about Adam Scher back on the board? Ship My Money DFS. Yeah, you've heard of him. Second place in the night GPP 2 nights ago and first place last night. Still got a long way to climb back, but got to celebrate him when you can. 27,500 for our boy Ship My Money. And Timothy, we'll just go by Timmy, as a matter of fact. I'm not even going to try. I don't care for the free month, and I would change the logo, but I like to have something different so I can see where I'm at quickly. But these stochastic tools off the hook, and the new Sims tool, don't even get me started. 3 days using, 2 nice wins with the new MLB Sim tool. 2,500, 4,000 there in the 4-seamer and the mini max. Congrats, Timmy. Nice wins. And Tall Tale, been a great season. Thanks to Stochastic and thanks to all the Discord brethren. $4,000 for Tall Tale. And Golden Child, FanDuel Fantasy Takedown, 1,600 to A. Baker, 82 to close out the NBA season, but it keeps going. We got more. Dave Oliver, best tools and advice, hands down. Thank you, guys. 5,000 in the Friday MLB rally, followed up by BST. BST Rans? BS Trans? $2,000. Thanks to everybody at Stochastic. Second place in the 4-seamer. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, fella. And Katzler, big night in the NBA streets for me last night. Thanks to all the advice and content. Nice. Few big wins there for Katzler. And a few more. Keith, PJ Showdown, 5K short game, $150 to Keith. And in the guard, not a full banker Hall of Fame worthy. We'll throw you up here anyway, brother. But all made possible by the PGA lineup generator. Yeah, you guys know, less than $4.50 for the first week. And we wrap it up with our friend Johnny Footballs. Hopefully this qualifies. Field size was 9,500. Love the content. The banter prior and during each show is just as, if not more valuable. Congrats, Johnny, and everyone else. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. You've now been inducted, and welcome back if you've been here before. Remember, rep the avatar, stochastic.com/avatar. Wherever it is you play, tweet us your wins at Stochastic HOF. Get up here, get the free month, and get inducted, and we'll see you back here for the next one.
What is happening, everybody? It is MLB Live before lock time. I got a haircut today. Gonna get that out of the way. It's gonna come up in the YouTube chat. Probably be like 75% of the comments today. Got a haircut. Been trying to do it for a while. Hasn't worked into my schedule. Today I had some free time. I was doing a show with Jordan and Eric, who has since gone missing. He was involved in a submarine voyage. We don't know when he's gonna come back. For now, though, Eric not gonna be at work for a little bit. And I'd said right at the end, I was like, hey guys, can't fuck around here. I got to go get a haircut because I knew I had a very short window before I had to get back to work. So got my haircut. This will buy me some time until it grows back and can get a haircut. As Neil astutely pointed out earlier, I should just consider male pattern baldness, and then I wouldn't have to worry about
Much
haircuts.
easier.
I know that's working out for Neil. You go bald, you get a hat. But yeah, for me, I'm stuck with my hair for now. Got the haircut done. As you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored by BetMGM today. You know, what is happening? How was your weekend? Haven't talked to you for a couple days.
Yeah, this is the longest stretch I've gone without being on a live show in like months. I haven't been on a show since Saturday morning. A little bit out of practice here, but excited to be back doing a show with you. I did get the bad news, Greg, today that the worst team in my softball league, the one that I love playing against because I know they're not going to, even if they hit it back at me, it's not going to be hard. They dropped out of the league today after 2 seasons of just being a punching bag. They dropped out of the league, so I got that bad news today. But otherwise, doing well. How are you doing?
In the middle of the season, they just dropped out.
They finally realized that, having scored like 50 fewer runs than the next worst team, they just weren't going to catch up to the rest of us. So I think they just decided they're going to call it a day. They were like employees of like some, I think they sell mattresses kind of firm. Their team name was the Sleeping Sluggers, and they were fun to play against.
So they just forfeit all their games the rest of the year?
Yeah, they dropped out of the league.
Oh my God. That kind of ruins the league a little bit, though. No, aren't there certain teams that have probably played them more than other teams and whatnot?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we had And we had 8 teams in the league. Now, apparently, some teams are going to have to play double headers on some nights. We don't have to because we played all our games. But yeah, kind of messes things up.
And this is probably going to hurt your ERA as well.
It is. It's going to kill my ERA. Yeah, it's awful for me.
Oh, my God.
And I care a lot about my ERA.
Anything else going on in your life, or just a team that used to play softball doesn't play softball anymore?
I mean, that's the big thing. Here's the thing that happened to me. My nephew is turning 17 tomorrow. And I was thinking, oh, shoot, I said I would do something tomorrow night for the Stochastic team. This morning, I was like, oh, shoot. And then I realized my nephew doesn't want to hang out with me. I realized it's probably 4 years too late. Like, he's not going to spend his 17th birthday with his uncle. So it doesn't actually affect me.
Now, do you know what a 17-year-old boy wants for his 17th birthday?
Probably a lot of things.
Yeah. A 17-year-old girl, not a...
Well, yeah.
Not a host of an MLB fantasy show.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But you never know. Maybe he wants to go play softball with you, and that'll be nice. He can start his own team. He could fill in for the other team. That's a definite possibility. You're not going to believe it. First super chat in of the day. Who'd you guess it's from? What do you guess? What do you think the content is about?
I'm going to tell you, I already saw that it's from Ace of Spade. We know the content, and I will pull up Josh's tiers on Twitter.
All right, so let's get into it. Ace of Spade has left us his usual super chat. He wants to know who we are liking for DK tiers today. So I've run lineups for DK tiers, talk about the top of the show here. And then Neil is going to pull up Josh Engleman's Twitter account because Josh has been doing some sims for tiers. And then we could compare the results here and we could see who we like across the different tiers. So let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. Tier 1 for me. Honestly, a very close one. I'm getting fairly equal exposure to Fernando Tatis, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Mike Trout. And if I look through the lineups, it's not like there's some other tier where I'm getting a whole bunch of other players from any of these tiers. So I'm going to go with Fernando Tatis in tier 1. He's been one of the most valuable players in baseball over the last month. Quietly, the Padres offense getting back on track. Tatis for me in tier 1. What does Josh have, though?
Yeah, so I listened to the last 20 minutes or so of their last show, and it's kind of in line with what he was saying about what he's doing DFS-wise. He has Fernando Tatis, number 1 in tier 1 by kind of a good margin.
All right, and then tier 2 for me. Another one, kind of a tough one. A lot of options I like in tier 2. The player I'm getting the most of, though, actually is Freddie Freeman. So now I'm looking at this. Maybe you could say Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman paired together as a possibility in tier 1, tier 2. But once again, tier 2. Freeman, Seager, Goldschmidt, Soto. I think all of them are worthy choices. I'm leaning with Freddie Freeman here, though.
Yep. And in tier 2, who Josh was really talking about, he really likes Juan Soto today. Also has him at the top in tier 2 here.
All right. Let's go to tier 3, where we have Corbin Carroll, Marcus Semien, Nolan Arenado. Those are the players who are popping up most frequently for me. But overall, the one I got to the most was Corbin Carroll.
Same for Josh.
This is not really the typical type of tier slate we go to. I guess part of it too is because there's 11 games, so there's more options, but it's hard to find stacks to like quite as much as some of these other ones. Tier 4, I'm going with the stud rookie Elly De La Cruz. What does Josh have in tier 4?
Also Elly De La Cruz.
Oh boy, where are we going to deviate here?
I don't know.
Tier 5, I'm just going to read the name and see if it's the same. Jose Ramirez, I got the most of in tier 5.
By nearly 10%, Josh has Jose Ramirez on top.
All right. Tier 6. Here's where we get a little bit of correlation. Maybe this is where I'll be a little bit different from Josh, but I have Matt McClain in tier 6, and it does create a little red stack with Elly De La Cruz in tier 4. What does Josh have there?
Josh also has Matt McClain.
Well, look at that. So what I was running in my crunches in here came out very similar to Josh's. So there you go, Ace of Spade. Hope that helps you with your tiers lineups. And if anybody else has questions for us and you're in our Discord channel, one of the perks being a Stochastic Plus Platinum member, me in Discord and we could answer those questions. By the way, I should also shout out that we do have a podcast channel. If you guys haven't checked out our podcast channel, go ahead, check that out. And I know that Live Before Lock isn't necessarily the most conducive show to listen to on a podcast, but we have a strategy show every morning that Neil's frequently doing, sometimes producing for himself, actually. And if you guys want to go listen to that, go check out our podcast channel. Be so kind to leave us a review as well. Let's start talking about some of the pitchers for tonight, Neil. And I want to know how you're approaching the slate. 11 games. And, it's a slate where there aren't too many options that I think really stand out above everything else. But is there any one individual pitcher that you are getting a lot more exposure to than any other one?
Yeah, so I'm trying to use the Sims today, and I did my 2000 lineups, haven't run them through Sims yet, and I just realized that I have Chris Taylor in my lineups, which kind of kills it.
The worst.
Yeah, it does. It is the worst. But I think, well, I'll take a look at who I want to get to instead of who I am getting to. And yeah, I mean, it's probably just going to the top with Garrett Cole. He has the best top 2 pitcher odds on the slate, 20% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He is getting a good amount of ownership. But I don't see anybody else that I like really want to play more than Garrett Cole. So I think I'm probably sticking with it. How about you?
Yeah, so I'll answer for me. I ended up going primarily cheaper at pitcher. I didn't really end up paying up a ton. I also do have a bet on Garrett Cole under 8.5 strikeouts for what it's worth. So I'm going to be rooting against him a little bit today. He's also the most popular pitcher on the slate. But I really don't view any pitching options as being like a predominant, I have to get to that kind of guy, especially because there's been a little bit of a degradation in terms of the skills of Garrett Cole this year compared to previous years. His fastball is down about 0.7 miles per hour from last year off the top of my head, because I was looking at it earlier in the day. I think it was 97.8 last year, 97.1. It's still like, that's not something that's massively concerning, but it's kind of a trend with him everywhere across the board. Like velocities are a little bit down, spin rates are a little bit down. As a result, he's got a strikeout rate of about 26%, which by itself is not terrible, but it's the worst that he's had since he was all the way back with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I do worry a little bit about him starting to age now that he's entering his mid-30s. Maybe there's a little bit of a skill decline. He's super popular today. So I am just preferring to go a little bit cheaper at pitcher as opposed to spending up. Like if somebody had Garrett Cole in a cash game lineup, I think that is totally acceptable. He's just not going to be a priority for me in large field tournaments, particularly considering that he's projected for about 35% ownership. And let's see if it's come down a little bit actually from earlier. He's at 28% earlier when I was running my last run of lineups through the Sims, which is about 30 minutes ago. He was 35% on then. So 28% does help him a little bit, but still not going to be somebody that I'm prioritizing today. And then over on FanDuel, we've got Garrett Cole actually projected for 22% ownership, which is a ton for a single pitcher site. Are there any other pay up options that are standing out to you? We've got Eovaldi tonight, Framber Valdez, Clayton Kershaw. Those are some of the other options that are expensive and picking up some ownership, although Eovaldi is fairly contrarian, 7% for him on DraftKings. And then on FanDuel, he is coming in at just 3%.
Yeah, I think you can actually make a good case for Eovaldi. I mean, all these guys look good. Clayton Kershaw looks good. Framber Valdez looks good, but Eovaldi's the one who's getting single-digit ownership, 8.6% on DraftKings. He is the most expensive, but also has, I would say, the best matchup of the group against the White Sox in Chicago. So I do kind of have interest in pivoting to Eovaldi, going a little bit contrarian there at the top. Who do you like outside of? I guess you don't really like Cole. Who do you like at the top?
Nobody really. Like I have some exposure to Framber Valdez. He's the one I get the most of, but it's not all that much different from the field. So if I had to roster one, all things being considered, the upside, the quality of the pitcher, the ownership, I would say Framber Valdez against the Mets. The Mets have generally been a disaster this year. So like to the point of this, their odds of making the playoffs right now on Fangraphs, it's like 20% for the Mets. And you're talking about one of the highest payroll teams in all of baseball. And there's a couple reasons why. Number one, they've had injuries. Pete Alonso's been hurt, but then also you got a lot of players too. Like Max Scherzer hasn't been as good this year as in previous years. Justin Verlander has had a big drop off this year. Francisco Lindor, also another hitter who the Mets had brought on and was an MVP candidate type player prior to coming to the Mets and just hasn't been that guy with New York. Just have everything has kind of gone wrong for this team at the same time. The point I really want to make about Framber Valdez, though, is this is an easier matchup than I think a lot of people would realize when you just see the name of the Mets on the paper. It's just not a very good team this year. And Framber Valdez has been so consistently good. And I think relative to the other pitching options, like I don't think there's a big difference between Framber Valdez or Garrett Cole or Clayton Kershaw on this slate. And our top pitcher odds really bear that out as well. Top 2 pitcher odds for Clayton Kershaw, 17%. Garrett Cole, 17%. Framber Valdez, 16.4%, yet he's half the ownership of those two guys. So all that being considered, I'm going to be going to Framber Valdez with a similar range of outcomes, but he's a little bit cheaper with less ownership. So if I had to pay up for a guy in large field tournaments, it is him, but not the pitcher I'm getting the most exposure to overall.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that call, Framber Valdez. When you say that a lot of people might not realize that the Mets aren't as good as they think, you talking about me? It's kind of true. It's kind of true.
I was just bringing it could have been talking about you. I don't know how good you think the Mets are or aren't.
I think they're good. I think they're a good team. So I'm yeah, you totally you'd be right if you were talking about me. I like this. Cloak Mistborn says, I don't know if I trust this Greg with his lack of hair. He had lots more hair in his Twitter video a few hours ago. I trusted that guy. Yeah, I think I don't really trust Greg anymore either with this new haircut. Did you get any juicy gossip from your any inappropriate gossip with your barber like Laffy does?
No, I just sit there and we watch movies on Netflix while he cuts my hair.
What kinds of movies?
We watch what's that movie with Jason Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston? Is it Vacation?
That does sound familiar to me. I don't remember what it is, but that does sound like a movie. I don't know.
It's so the problem is I don't know it's We're the Millers. Right. It's like they're going on like a fake vacation on an RV, but they're actually smuggling drugs.
Yep.
That was the movie. That was a good movie. So I just sit there. Yeah, I just sit there. And for whatever reason, the place that I like going to get my haircut, it takes them a very, very long time. So like I was there for like an hour. So I did get to watch a bulk of the movie, but that's what I do. I'm not like Loft where I go in and I get to hear like what kind of dirty acts the barber did to his neighbor or whatever.
Yeah, he has some fun discussions with his barber. I will say, Greg, I went to a barber one time. I think the only time I've ever been to a barber in Minnesota was when I worked downtown, and there was a barber shop literally in my building in Minneapolis. So I went there one time, and he gave me a nudie magazine, like handed me a nudie magazine while I'm sitting there. I'm like, I don't want to look at a nudie magazine while I'm having my haircut. Like it was the most awkward experience I've ever had. Had him have my haircut.
It's probably even more awkward when you finished on his face while
he didn't like that one bit. He complained
right over your shoulder. I could see why that would be uncomfortable. I could say that is weird though, because number one, also when you go to like, I know typically when I'm at like barber shops or whatever, like there's kids around, there'll be like mothers in there as well.
It was downtown Minneapolis, like in a building where a bunch of like offices were. So there weren't going to be any kids around or anything, but there were like, there's women working in the building and walking by. It was uncomfortable.
Your pants were getting tighter. Yeah, I could see. I wouldn't enjoy that either. Not my ideal haircut.
Also, how many men have held that exact magazine? I don't know. It's just. Yeah.
You know what actually be the funniest part is if some of the pages were ripped out of it.
Oh God. Yeah. I was a little bit nervous. I didn't really go through it.
You get some people take pages of it and bring it home. Some more super chats coming in. Then we'll talk about some of the cheaper pitchers. This is from Malokar wants to know dong picks, not the best time to be asking about dong picks, but dong picks that don't include Zion Williamson. So let's go and look at my lineups. And, I think I know who I wanted a home run today. Do you have a home run pick for this slate, Neil?
Oh, Joey Gallo. Give me my guy for the Twins.
So I'm going to guess that was your home run pick from the show this morning as well.
I'm no longer on that show like every morning. I do it just on Saturdays regularly.
So for me, Paul Goldschmidt, the team I'm getting the most exposure to, I'm playing in single entry, is the St. Louis Cardinals. It would benefit me if Paul Goldschmidt homered, and he's somebody that I think is very live to homer. So Paul Goldschmidt is going to be my home run pick, Malukar. Hopefully that helps you out. And do you follow the Zion Williamson drama at all?
Yes, I know about the Mariah Mills, like calling him out on Twitter constantly. Now she's been banned from Twitter. That she was threatening like releasing the sex tapes is the latest I've heard.
Yeah, so she's looking for, it appears, money from him at this point or something. I mean, she clearly wants attention, but maybe money at this point. And you're a lawyer. Is this not blackmail at this point? Like I'm reading some of these things that come across Twitter. I'm like, it seems to me that she's publicly committing a crime and blackmailing him.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way.
Like you can't record yourself having sex with somebody and then hold that as leverage against them to try to get.
This is revenge porn. Games. She's threatening revenge porn. Yeah. Maybe I don't know if it's a crime before she actually does it, but yeah, not a good look, not a good idea.
But that's also why I think it seems like blackmail to me. Like I don't know all of the legalities of blackmail, but this seems like it to me.
It does feel like blackmail. I'm not aware of blackmail as a like as a federal crime, but I'm not a very good lawyer, Greg. I never really like dug into the rules and stuff. I never really practiced law either. I didn't like law school. I went there for something to do, and then I don't remember all that much. So I'm not sure if there is like a federal blackmail law.
All right. The next super chat is from, well, it's cool. I didn't realize that I was the lawyer of this show. I thought it was you, but it's been me the whole time.
Yeah.
3, Windy, 1 City, 2, a moment of silence for the fro. If it makes you feel better, it will be back in short order. But for now, it is gone. And my head feels a lot colder than it did previously.
Does it? Is that a good thing right now in June?
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, it's basically like I had, a massive amount of clothing on my head that isn't there anymore. Because there was a lot of hair. It kept me very warm. It's not there anymore. But 3, Windy, 1 City, 2. Appreciate the super chat. Let's get back to talking about some of the pitchers for today. And we've gone over some of the expensive options. By the way, my answer is the same for FanDuel as for DraftKings. If I had to pay up for one pitcher on FanDuel, it's going to be Framber Valdez, especially when you consider that Garrett Cole is 22% owned on FanDuel, Clayton Kershaw 12%, Framber Valdez 5%. And once again, here's how our top pitcher odds break out on FanDuel relative to DraftKings, where DraftKings is kind of the same for all of them. Same sort of scenario for FanDuel. Garrett Cole, 6.8% chance to be the top scoring pitcher. Clayton Kershaw, 6.7% chance. And then Framber Valdez, 6.3% chance. And you're getting him at a fraction of the ownership of those guys. 22% for Cole, 5% ownership for Framber Valdez. So Valdez, that's my preferred pay-up option for today. Do you like going cheap at pitcher today, Neil? Are there any punt pitchers? Well, I don't know if I'll call them punts, but anything sub 8K on DraftKings that's standing out to you or catching your eye?
I mean, Verlander at 7,300, even as he has declined quite a bit, and he has a tough matchup with Houston. Still 7,300 for Verlander does kind of appeal to me, and it looks good in the top pitchers tool, coming in at 7% ownership, 9% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 10% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. So that one does stand out to me a little bit. I don't love Reed Detmers against the Dodgers. He does look good in the top pitchers tool though. So, I mean, at 6% ownership, I could accept it if I end up over the field on Reed Detmers. I wouldn't say I love it, but something that you can play that's sub 8,000. Yeah, who else? Oviedo. I kind of like Oviedo at 6,200 against the Cubs, coming in at 7% ownership, 18% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 9% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. Maybe that's my answer. Oviedo is maybe the most interesting at 6,200. Who do you like?
It is Ben Lively for me. If you guys watched the video that I put out on Twitter, or I was running through all my lineups, Ben Lively was the pitcher earlier in the day I was getting the most exposure to. Same case now. And, Ben Lively is not somebody who I think of as being massively talented or anything like that, but he's cheap. He's $7,100 relative to the other cheap options we have today. Reed Detmers. We've got, you just mentioned Justin Verlander. We've got also, Johan Oviedo, Aaron Savali. You got a great matchup for Ben Lively at home against the Colorado Rockies. And we do have him with the second best top value odds on DraftKings for today. But the big thing too is that he is delivering serviceable results. 4.07 ERA, 4.32 expected ERA. His strikeout rate, not great, but respectable, 23.3%. Considering the matchup against the Rockies, he's just underpriced. He's so cheap, and he brings a little bit of both salary savings and safety, just in terms of he's been a consistently decent pitcher this year. And the options are just really not all that great today. Like the pitchers that we're talking about on the high end, Kershaw is kind of popular, but he's on the road against the Angels and doesn't generally work super deep into games at this point in his career. Garrett Cole, somewhat tough matchup against the Mariners, and his strikeout rate has been down this year, but the salaries haven't changed for these pitchers. They're still really expensive. So I like saving money at pitcher. Talked about that before, and Ben Lively is the one that I'm getting to the most. I think he's the safest pitching option of the entire slate. He's picking up some ownership, but nothing crazy. Actually, identical ownership to top value odds, 16.6%, 16.6%. So Ben Lively for me, is he somebody you think you're going to be getting to?
Probably. So I was getting a good amount in when I did my lineup generator video earlier today. I'm trying to use a Sims tool now, so I'm not sure if it'll end up with the exact same results, but he did look pretty good. I think I was getting to above the field in those lineup generator lineup. So I imagine I'll probably get to a similar amount in the Sims too. Yeah, I do think it's obviously a great matchup. Like anytime you can play Colorado outside of Coors. I was listening to Josh talk me out of him a little bit, just pointing out that the difference in ballpark between Coors and Great American Ballpark is not as much as like in my mind it is, which, Ben Lively in a hitter's ballpark is not a great recipe, but still a great matchup with the Rockies. So I do imagine I'll be over the field.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing, too, to consider with Ben Lively's numbers, though, this is where he's making half of his starts, and his numbers are what his numbers are. It's
That's
not
true.
like he has, horrendous numbers this year. He's used to pitching in this ballpark, and he's been good in it this year. So if I pull up the numbers for him just at home, for instance, let's see what we have here. Yeah, so overall for the year when Lively is pitched at home, he has a 3.74 ERA, 3.91 xFIP. His strikeout rate is higher at home than on the road, 25.3%. So like he's been fine at this ballpark for most of the year anyway. And he just has a good matchup against the Rockies team. And yeah, it's still a very favorable hitter's park, but still it's where he's been pitching. And it is still a downgrade for the Rockies compared to being at Coors Field.
Yeah, for sure.
If we go through other pitchers, the other one that I'm getting to, and this is a little bit more contrarian, but not crazy so, I'm getting to Jordan Montgomery. He is $7,400. I think he really makes sense as an SP2. Another pitcher who, not the easiest park to pitch in the world on the road in Washington, but still, this offense is fairly dog shit. And Jordan Montgomery has results that are very similar to Lively this year. 3.91 ERA, 4.12 expected ERA, 21.6% strikeout rate. And he's just really cheap in a good matchup. So these are the type of guys that I'm gravitating towards. Big slate. Ownership is pretty spread out. Neither of these guys are crazy popular. Montgomery, 13%. And then Ben Lively, 16.6%. Like you get these two guys as a pitching pair. It's the pitching pair that I'm getting to most frequently. You can basically roster wherever you want a hitter when you've got these two pitchers in. And I think both of them are relatively safe considering their matchup. So Jordan Montgomery is somebody that I'm getting to. Do you have any opinions or thoughts on him?
Yeah, so I will say, so I'm doing my 2000 crunch right now, 2000 lineup crunched. And in those 2000 lineups, my top 5 pitchers, Cole, Kershaw, and then the next 3 are all sub 8K guys. It's Dylan Cease. I'm getting the third most, Ben Lively and Jordan Montgomery, 4th and 5.
There we go. Yeah, so Montgomery, Lively, those are the 2 cheap pitchers that I am gravitating towards. Are there any crazy punts you like today? Like any of these guys that are projected for like sub 10% ownership, do you think are legitimately appealing pitching options?
I mean, Cutter Crawford at 5,400, getting just 7%. I don't want to recommend him against my Twins, but he looks pretty good, coming in with a 22.5% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. The price is right. It's not the best matchup in the world against the Twins, but they do strike out. He is 5,400. Not the worst gamble to make there on Cutter Crawford. Yeah, I'd say he's probably my best answer there. Do you have anybody that you like that's not getting much ownership?
Not really. I'm kind of cool with, like, earlier in the day, I got to a couple lineups with Colin Ray. I'm kind of happy those aren't popping up anymore. The pitchers that I like I was just going over, Jordan Montgomery and Ben Lively, they're cheap enough. I don't have to go too much cheaper than that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then if I go and look at FanDuel, one thing that's a little bit different, Montgomery's $8,800 over on FanDuel. You've got Verlander up at 82. So I do like Ben Lively as a cheaper pitching option on FanDuel. He's 8K even over on FanDuel. Project for a little bit of ownership, but nothing crazy, still sub 10%. So if you want to go cheap on FanDuel, I think Ben Lively is a guy to get to there. So we could go and start building lineups in the lineup generator in a second. But before we do you have anything else you want to bring up at pitcher, Neil?
Folk Matt saying Seth Lugo is somebody that he wants to play at. I mean, he's coming in at like no ownership, right? Last I checked, what is Seth Lugo? 0.5. He does look good in the top pitches. So I will say that he's 7,500, 6.4% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher, 6.6% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. I don't know that I'm getting there, but he does look, you definitely find some positive leverage there. But yeah, nobody else who really stands out as somebody I'm going to be playing here.
Yeah, and I see Flim Flam Man in the Discord did ask us who our 2 favorite value bats, sub 3K are. Well, let me look at my lineups and I can tell you who I got to the most. Sub 3K hitters on DraftKings. Let's see. Does anybody, as I'm looking through my lineups, does anything immediately come to mind in the lineups that you're building in front of you right now, Neil?
It looks like Jake McCarthy, who is hitting the 9 hole, so not the best spot, but he's in Milwaukee, is my most exposed batter under 3K. Ezekiel Duran, not far behind. Seth Brown, 2,500, batting 4th in the outfield for the A's. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, let's see. So Duran is one for me. McCarthy also, by the way, we've projected McCarthy a lot higher than pretty much anywhere else this entire season. And it's been to my benefit. A lot of my best lineups this year actually have had Jake McCarthy, whether it be in Diamondback stacks where he's been lesser owned at the bottom of the order, just as a one-off. So I like Jake McCarthy. I've played him a lot in tournaments this year. I think he makes sense to get to. And then you mentioned Duran. I'll go with him as well because he's in my single entry lineup today. He was in my single entry lineup last night. He ended up having, I think he had an extra base hit. It was either a triple or a double and scored double-digit fantasy points. It was a nice one-off. So I like Duran again and is somebody that I'm going with for value. So both of those make sense. Let me see. Did he say 3K flat or sub 3K? All right, I was going to add in, I'll give you a bonus one. He's not under 3K, but he's right at 3K. Jordan Walker, still an uber talented young prospect. He's had an up and down rookie year. He looked like he was going to be a rookie of the year candidate to open up the year. And that obviously ended up not being the case, had to go back to AAA, but a lot of power and ability with him. So Jordan Walker, flat 3K. I like him in the outfield. Now let's go and build some lineups in the MLB lineup generator here, Neil. And if you guys haven't signed up for this yet, use the link below. Get access to this for less than $5. DraftKings and FanDuel. You build lineups up to 20 when you could upload directly to DK and FanDuel. And it's so easy to use. If you guys are new to MLB DFS, this is the product for you to dip your toes in the water. Let's start with DraftKings here, Jordan. Go all stack types. And let's try to build contrarian lineups. I'm just curious what pops up. It's a big slate. And nothing's all that popular, but I am kind of curious just what shows up if we're making contrarian lineups anyway. Mr. Cool Cam, I see your super chat there. When we get to building FanDuel lineups, we'll see what pops up in the MLB lineup trader, and then I'll also just say some of the contrarian stacks that I do like getting to. But for now, let's see, building contrarian lineups where we're getting to a bunch of Cleveland. And then at pitcher, Ben Lively, our most rostered, Framber Valdez. So once again, Valdez looking like a reasonable way to differentiate some lineups. Guardian stack popping up a ton. I wasn't really expecting to see that, especially because they are a little bit popular today. But Neil, what are you noticing here? Cleveland Guardian stack, looks like some red stacks. Anything else that's popping up or catching your eye?
How much Ben Lively are we getting? Do you see him on there?
Yep.
55%.
55% player overall.
Yeah, so this is looking like what I was getting earlier, just a ton of Guardians, which surprised me as well. Just I mean, I know you just said that that was a surprising thing too, but that was definitely, I think I was getting even more than what we were getting here. I think just more Guardians bats towards the top. Definitely a surprise for me. Yeah, cool to see Framber Valdez getting in there at 35%. Don't mind that one bit. Yeah, nothing else really standing out as all that interesting. I do like to see the Reds in there. I mean, I guess they're a little bit chalky. I'm a little bit surprised that we're not getting to. No, I guess it's because we did only contrarian lineup, so we won't get to Rockies in the contrarian lineups. But I'm a little bit surprised that we are getting so similar to what I was getting because I did all lineup types and we're doing just contrarian lineups here, but still getting to a good amount of the Guardians. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, we are getting to some Cardinals in there as well. So the Cardinals are the team that we have the overall top stack odds for. So I thought we might be getting to a little bit more Cardinals. It's a team that I'm getting a lot of exposure to, but yeah, we've got the Cardinals in there kind of as like a tertiary stack, but Guardians and Reds in there. But let's go and check out FanDuel, see what ends up popping up here. And I always view this as, even if you guys, and you shouldn't play these lineups exactly as they're showing up on screen. I mean, if you want to, go for it, I guess. But I do think this is a really good way for us to just kind of show off the MLB lineup generator here and then give you guys an idea of just some of the players that project the best for us. And yeah, Jordan, contrarian lineups again, just as a sense, like if you guys are sitting here building lineups while you're watching the show, which is what I think a lot of you are doing, you could take some of these players that are showing up in lineups and you could use some of the core players to build some of your lineups around. Here we go. So this is more what I was expecting. St. Louis Cardinals, we are getting to a ton here for FanDuel. It is overall my favorite stack of the day. And then also, I mean, they're not contrarian. To Mr. Coolcam 97's question, they're far less popular than the Cleveland Guardians and the Cincinnati Reds today. We have them with the top overall odds. So it's the team I'm playing in single entry. It's who I'm going to recommend you guys should also build around, but maybe not the contrarian stack that Mr. Coolcam is looking for. So they are projected for sub 10% ownership, Mr. Coolcam 97. So I do think they're a really strong stack, but I'll give you a contrarian one to get to as well in a second. As for other teams we're getting to here, by the way, also Ben Lively, our most rostered pitcher on FanDuel. Fernando Tatis showing up as a one-off. And then as we scroll down a little bit more, still more Cardinals hitters, but then some Guardians, some Reds, but not really that much of the Reds popping up on FanDuel here. They are very negatively leveraged for us. We have them projected for 14% ownership, 8.4% top stack odds. So they do look overowned by quite a bit over on FanDuel. Anything else you're noticing maybe in terms of pitchers or stacks we got to here?
Yeah, I'm sort of surprised to see how much Ben Lively we are getting. And I noticed it earlier too. I don't know that I love getting to 50%. I think that if I were to get 50%, I'd probably go back, get rid of some of these Ben Lively lineups and try to get some with other pitchers. Cool to see that Fernando Tatis. I'm curious how much Juan Soto we're getting on FanDuel. Good amount of Fernando Tatis there. Spencer Steer.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit, Jordan. Let's see if we got to Soto. 2 homers last night for Soto.
Yeah, there you go.
17% of lineups.
Maybe picking it up. Yeah, I mean, Ben Lively as our highest exposed pitcher is interesting. I guess he's 8,000, so he's much cheaper than a lot of the more expensive pitchers, but still sort of surprising to see how much we're getting there. By the way, I think that did we just get our final lineup of the night? Are all lineups in already? That's a beautiful thing.
Let's see. Is that the case?
I think it is.
We have, yep, all lineups are in now. We are all set and good to go. And hopefully we got, Tatis is in, Soto, Machado, Bogart. So nothing crazy in the Padres lineup. So we are good to go for tonight, Neil. And let's answer that question. So Mr. Coolcam wanted to know who our favorite contrarian play or contrarian stack is for the day on FanDuel. If it can't be the Cardinals, which I think it's reasonable to say can't be the Cardinals, I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers against Dylan Cease. It's just been a down year for Cease and a very favorable hitter's park in Chicago. We actually have the Texas Rangers with the 3rd overall top stack odds in our top stacks tool for FanDuel, but only project for 3.7% ownership as a team. One of the main reasons is we have so much ownership going to Cleveland and Cincinnati today that kind of by default on a slate of this size, every other team ends up being somewhat contrarian. It's a slate with double-digit games. You got just these 2 teams combined are making up nearly 30% of the ownership, which means that it's just so spread out everywhere else. So you get the Rangers on FanDuel with 3% owned against an inconsistent Dylan Cease. He's had some really miserable starts this year. I think it makes sense to get to the Texas Rangers as a contrarian stack.
Yeah, I mean, that looks like a great option. I'm going to go way off the board here, and people aren't going to like this, I bet. Seattle against Garrett Cole looks great in the top stacks tool on FanDuel. 1% projected ownership, 4.7% chance of being the top stack, 5.2% chance of being the top value stack. Obviously, it's going to fail more often than it hits, but when it hits, I mean, Seattle it's a team that can put up a lot of runs, and Garrett Cole does have some games where he just doesn't have it and gives up some home runs. So I kind of like Seattle here.
Yeah, I don't mind that, especially because, well, number one, I've already bet the under on Garrett Cole. I'm shorting him in large field tournaments. It's kind of like last night. Eric and I were talking about our favorite contrarian stacks. And one of the reasons we talked a lot about the Diamondbacks is because Corbin Burnes is projected for a ton of ownership. And neither of us were playing Corbin Burnes last night. So based on that, we're kind of like, hey, if we're not playing Corbin Burnes, shouldn't we kind of be playing some Diamondback stacks? And I know this is a little bit different because yesterday was a more condensed, smaller slate. This one's bigger. It gives you more options. But by the same merit, if I'm going to be undercutting the field on Garrett Cole, probably not the worst idea in the world to also be making Mariners stack here or there just to get some of the leverage off of Cole, because I'm already rooting against him, right? If he goes out and scores 1 million fantasy points, my lineups are kind of dead because he's going to be one of the most popular pitchers on the slate, especially on FanDuel. So I like that. I like the Mariners call. You're getting leverage in terms of them being under-owned in our top stacks tool, and then leverage just because you've got Garrett Cole so popular and projected to be over-owned based on our data. Now, one other thing I want to do is look at some of our favorite bets for the day. So we'll look at Bet Pro for baseball. But I also want to shout out that if you guys have not signed up at BetMGM yet, take advantage of our offer, because if you sign up using the link that we have below, you're going to get 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. It's one of the easiest ways to get it's just some your foot in the door to the site, and just an easy way to get access to all the tools and data we have. Another easy way is you win a tournament and you add us on Twitter. Add us at the Stochastic Hall of Fame, and you get inducted. That'll also get you 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. All you have to do is just make sure that you have the Stochastic avatar as your avatar on FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever it is you are playing. And then when you win, add us, because we don't just know when you win tournaments. You have to at Stochastic HOF. It also helps if you at myself and Neil, because we like to know when you guys won. So take advantage of that. Go play with the Stochastic avatar. Give yourself a chance to win a free month. And then also when it goes to BetMGM, just a minimum $10 deposit will get you 1 month at the site. And also make sure to use the link that we have below. If you're anybody you know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER, or just get into a submarine with Eric, and hopefully you never return. Now, Bet Pro. Going to pull this up and see what bets are popping up. The one bet that I had placed earlier in the day, Neil, but I don't think it's on the board anymore, was Garrett Cole for under 8.5 strikeouts. A crazy line for Garrett Cole. He's made 15 starts this year, Neil. How many of those do you think he's had 9 or more strikeouts?
In 15 starts?
Yep.
5?
Only 3 times the entire year. So it's a very high number for a strikeout prop to open at. So I hit the under on that, but I think that number, yeah, unfortunately it's down to 7.5. 7.5 is more reasonable. Wouldn't touch it. I like the 8.5 number earlier, but other props that are standing out today, and I'm going to actually sort by BetMGM, because BetMGM is the sponsor of the show today. So give people some reason to sign up at BetMGM. Give them a bet that you can only find over there and nowhere else. Ryan Nelson, under 4.5 strikeouts, pitching against the Milwaukee Brewers today. Let's look at some of the numbers for Nelson on the year. So Nelson, like I said, his over-under is 4.5 strikeouts. We have him projected for 3.6 for the year. Nelson, not a strikeout guy. I know 4.5 seems like a low number, Neil, but listen to this. Nelson this year has a 14.7% K rate. That's not great.
That's not great.
Let's look at his game logs. How many games is he? You can't have that many games with many strikeouts. Yeah, Nelson this year has made 14 starts. His prop is 4.5 strikeouts. 14 starts. His prop is 4.5. He has had 5 or more strikeouts twice the entire year.
Wow. That seems like a good bet.
All right. Under 4.5 strikeouts for Ryan Nelson. That is our number 1 prop for BetMGM, the sponsor of the show today. So if you guys want to sign up, go take advantage of the Ryan Nelson under there. Now, let's, by the way, shout out to Samson in the chat, because he's giving me some props, and you're saying, Greg, I have to give you your due, as you were right in regards to Burns last night. He was absolutely terrible. That, by the way, that wasn't even, I wasn't looking at it as being like, oh, he's going to suck today. He was just projected for a lot of ownership against a team that doesn't strike out at all.
Sure.
So Eric and I were underneath the field on him.
Nice.
That was it. All right. Let's get back to talking about the DFS slate and some of the stacks. And once again, if you guys are in Discord and have any questions for us, at me so I could answer those. And we have one right here. This one is from Einsteinium. He wants to know, hoping that you can make me feel better about my Oakland exposure for tonight. Well, I don't know what your Oakland exposure is. Is it a lot? Is it a little? Is it a medium amount?
Important question.
I think I need more context. I think we can answer it this way, Neil. Are you opinionated in a strong way about the Oakland A's offense?
Am I? That's a good question. Hang on. Let me. Are we talking FanDuel or DraftKings?
This is Einsteinium is typically asking us DraftKings questions, I believe.
Okay. I mean, nice matchup with Aaron Savale. 22% chance to be in the top value stack. They look like a good play. They allow you to play, better other stacks, play the better pitchers. So, I mean, if you want me to talk you off of them, it's Oakland. It's the A's offense that you're playing. So there's the reason to not play them, is that the A's are just not that good. But they're playing in Cleveland against Aaron Savale. It's a great spot, and they're cheap. So, yeah, I don't hate getting to some.
By the way, Reese Boyd, do you remember Reese Boyd from last week?
The name sounds familiar. I don't remember why though.
So he made some accusations about me in the chat.
Oh yes, I do remember him. Love that guy.
He was calling me a pedophile last week in chat. He's back. His tone seems a little bit different. He likes my haircut, and he is apologizing for what he said about us in the show last week. It's okay. I thought you made some salient points last week, and all good. You're welcome back in the YouTube channel. and not banned or anything. Happy to have you on board here, Reese. As for the Oakland A's, believe it or not, they're picking up ownership today on a large slate. You got them projected for 5.4% exposure as a team. I don't know that I want to play a somewhat popular Oakland A's stack. As one-offs, I think they make sense because they're so cheap. So cheap. There's
sure.
And which, I mean, that'll happen. They're historically off to one of the worst starts we've ever seen from a baseball team. But they are so cheap that I think they make sense as one-offs. I just don't want to really get a lot of exposure to them as a five-man stack when they're going to be popular.
Yeah. I probably not as a five-man. I think I prefer them as a secondary stack just because they do allow you to do more with the rest of your lineup, but it's really hard to view the A's going off for like 15 runs. They're in Cleveland, they're playing against Aaron Zavalli, so it could happen, but yeah, I think they make more sense as like one-off secondary kind of stack.
And a big part of this too is a lot of times my stacks will end up being informed by the pitchers I'm getting to. If the two pitchers I have the most exposure to are Ben Lively and Jordan Montgomery, what do I need to play the cheapest offense on the slate for that's also kind of popular? Right? I don't love the pay-up options today relative to their salary. Or I should say relative to their salary and ownership. If I want to spend up for a pitcher, I'm going to be a little contrarian. Framber Valdez is the one I like the most. But just the Oakland A's don't fit into what I'm doing at pitcher. That's probably the biggest thing.
Yep.
Then it's the A's. Here's the spots I like to play the A's. They're going up against Sandy Alcantara. The A's are projected for 0.8% ownership. Alcantara's projected for 40% ownership. We had that scenario 3 weeks ago or something like that off the top of my head. That's a spot where I kind of think it makes sense to get to the Oakland A's, not when they are actually popular.
Yeah. Did you get Matt Carpenter out of your lineups?
I'm all good.
Okay, cool.
Let me see if Einsteinium followed up about how much. Yeah, I don't know how much exposure he's getting to the A's. So hard to say. Hard to say if I am on board with his A's exposure when I don't know what it is. But let's talk about the popular offenses, Neil. We've got double-digit exposure to the Cincinnati Reds. We've got double-digit exposure to Cleveland Guardians, 12.5% for Cincinnati, 11.6% for Cleveland. Do you think the ownership is warranted on these offenses? Are you going to be playing the chalk hitters?
I'd like to come in underweight to the field on Cincinnati, overweight to the field on the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals look great.
The Cleveland Guardians and the Cincinnati Reds, two most popular offenses.
I apparently need to refresh. 1 sec. Most popular. Sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at the top of the top stacks tool. Yeah, the most popular. I'm going to be underweight to, or I'd like to be underweight to both of them. Cincinnati getting 12% ownership. I get it. They're facing Noah Davis in still a great ballpark. Even though it's not Coors, they are in Cincinnati, another great ballpark. So I don't hate getting to some Cincinnati, but I don't think I'm going to have as many full five-man stacks as the field when the field is playing 12%. I'd rather be underweight there. And same thing for Cleveland. 11% ownership going to Cleveland, 5% chance to be in the top stack, 8% chance to be in the top value stack. There are just so many offenses on a slate like this. I'd rather go to stacks that aren't getting as much ownership.
That's how I feel as well. The Cincinnati, how great was it last night where we had a chalky offense dud? The Cincinnati Reds, especially in my favorite tournament, the 121 on DK, the $121 single entry. The Cincinnati Reds were all like 40% owned yesterday.
Yep.
And oh my God, was it heartwarming to see all of them score like 2, 4, 6 fantasy points. It was incredible. Not going to be playing them today as much as the field either. Like I said, 12.5% ownership for the Reds, 11.6% for the Guardians. Yeah, they've got good pitching matchups against Noah Davis and Luis Medina, respectfully. But still, these are teams that are so popular. It's a big slate as well. It's not like these are the two top stack teams or anything either. Like, it's not like we're looking at the Reds as being the team that is like overwhelmingly top odds to be the top scoring team of the slate, which we've seen sometimes. Like some of those Brave slates where they were popular, Neil, if you remember, we would have them with like 15% ownership as a team, but 19% chance to be the top scoring team. So it was still like, hey, it's popular, but it's warranted. That's not the case with these teams. The Reds, 12.5% owned, 8.1% chance to be the top scoring team. By the way, they're actually expensive now. There's no sort of price discount on the Reds anymore. They're an expensive team that the field is also getting to. And then the Cleveland Guardians, 11.6% ownership, 5.6% chance to be a top stack. I'm getting underweight to these offenses and going elsewhere. Do you have a favorite offense to get to then?
I'm getting to a ton of St. Louis, and I don't mind that one bit. Just looking at the top stack tool, St. Louis looks like they have, I mean, they're top of the board in terms of top stack odds, and we're getting positive leverage on them. So hard not to love St. Louis here. I'd say that they are my top offense of the day. Are they also yours?
Team I'm getting the most exposure to, it's my single entry stack. I actually think the matchup against Mackenzie Gore is not the easiest one in the world, right? Young pitcher with a lot of talent, but he's a lefty, and there are so many hitters in this Cardinals lineup that crush lefties. Yeah. Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado right in the middle. Those are being the two that stand out the most. Then you also got a pitcher, Mackenzie Gore, who really is not producing bad results this year. But when he does go south for him, he gives up home runs. His ground ball rate only 43.5%. And then his home run to fly ball rate is 16.2%. So you got this pitcher who, lets the ball get hit in the air against him a little bit. But then also a lot of the balls hit in the air against him end up turning into home runs. So that's why also, if we go and look at the game log for Mackenzie Gore, he has given up 11 homers this year in his 14 starts, and he's given up at least one home run in all but one start since May 12th. So he has been consistently giving up a lot of hard contact as of late. Balls are leaving the ballpark, and just a lot of hitters, like I said, in this Cardinals lineup that hit lefties really well. So if I look at my most exposed hitters, pull this up over here. Yeah, I mean, it's Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Jordan Walker, Tommy Edman, Wilson Contreras, Brandon Donovan, Dylan Carlson. Almost all my most rostered hitters are coming from the St. Louis Cardinals. And, it's not like it's a crazy contrarian stack, but it is a team that is one of the top leverage scorers in our top stacks tool. And I do think the team is getting overlooked relative to their upside. Also, it is a hitter-friendly environment there in Washington on what is expected to be a hot day. Are there any, so we're on the same page here, right? This is a somewhat popular team that we're both coming in overweight to the field to and prioritizing. Are there any contrarian stacks that you are really liking for today?
All right, let me see who I'm actually getting to a good amount of. Ooh, I'm playing more Texas than I thought I was. Kind of interesting. What does Texas ownership look like? We've got Texas coming in at 6% ownership. I'm surprised that I'm getting as much Texas as I am. I mean, they're coming 6.3% ownership, 6.9% chance to be in the top stack. They came out really nicely for me in the sim. So I'm actually playing a good amount of the Rangers stacks. Let's see who else. Yeah, I mean,
and the other part of this too, because we just talked about the Texas Rangers relative to the FanDuel question we got. The Rangers, it's good spot for them in both draft. Good spot is they're playing the same pitcher on FanDuel as they are on DraftKings. They're a little more popular on DK, actually about twice as popular, 6% compared to 3% DraftKings to FanDuel. But I still think it's a team that's going under-owned on DraftKings. Not as under-owned as they are on FanDuel, but still a team to get to. And since I like cheaper pitchers, I think one thing that's keeping the Rangers price or their ownership down is the price points are so high. But it's not an issue for me because I like some cheap pitchers today.
Yeah, exactly. Another team that I'm getting to a lot of, Greg, which also surprises me, is Baltimore. I'm getting to a good amount of the Orioles, not Baltimore, Houston against Verlander. I'm getting to like 20% of Jose Altuve, 16% Kyle Tucker, like good amount of that Houston stock. Are you getting to any Astros?
A little bit. Not much to you because it seems like getting like 20% of a lot of these hitters. So nothing like that. But Verlander might be, I mean, I don't want to say he's washed is relative, right?
Sure.
Because like, what do you consider washed? Do you consider washed a player who's just totally past it? Or is it fair to just say somebody who has like a somewhat significant degradation in their talents and they're not as good as we think of them as is also being washed?
I think that still qualifies as washed. Like if you are significantly down from your peak as a player and it's due to, and like it's not coming back, I would say that qualifies as washed by my definition.
Because Verlander won the Cy Young last year, really out of nowhere, right? Because he had Tommy John surgery the year before. He was 39 years old, comes back, puts up a 1.75 ERA, gets himself a big payday, leaves in free agency, goes to the Mets. His velocity is down this year. His ERA is at 4.4, and his underlying numbers aren't great either. 4.43 FIP, 3.84 expected ERA. The big thing, though, especially from a fantasy perspective, a 21% K rate. He's not generating swing and misses, a lot more contact. That's leading to all kinds of issues for him. And then you got this Houston Astros offense that they're missing Yordan Alvarez, so it's definitely not as potent an offense as we typically see. But I just think Verlander, there's a chance that he's just kind of a mediocre pitcher now. We'll have to see a little more. He's only made 8 starts this year. He started the year hurt. But there are a bunch of red flags here, starting with the fact that he's 40 years old. How many pitchers are that successful into their 40s? Right?
Not that many. I'm going to be there, I think, next year. I'm still going to be successful at 40 in softball. Yeah.
Is that when you're projected to turn 40?
I'll still be a good pitcher. I'm saying that I'm still going to be at the peak of my game when I'm 40.
I see. I thought you were saying that you were guessing you might turn 40 next year.
I am projecting myself to be 40 years old in the year too. Yes, that's also true.
All right. Stay away from Eric and his submarine trips, or else that could be a holdup.
No, thank you.
Anyway, I think there's reason to think that Justin Verlander is not particularly great anymore. And if that's the case, I think it makes sense to pick on him. I see people in chat saying, hey, he's going to be juiced up to play against his former team. Yeah, but if he's not good anymore, what difference does it make?
Right. It's hard
and I'm not definitively saying that's the case, but you got the Houston Astros with almost no ownership. I think it makes sense to go to them.
I bet they're juiced up to play against him.
I think it's a baseball game. They're showing up to play baseball. I think this is something I'm sure there's like for individual players in baseball, basketball, football, it matters a lot to them. To a lot of them, I don't think they're just kind of showing up and trying their best anyway.
I mean, yeah, I was joking when I said they're juiced up to play. I will say though, I do think it's generally a better thing, and there's probably stats out there that can confirm or deny whether this is true, but I think it's generally if a pitcher leaves a team, it's going to be to the batter's advantage to play against that pitcher again, like because they've seen him a million times, they know what his stuff looks like exactly. If he does tip pitches at all, they're going to know. I guess you could say the same thing, like he knows the batter tendencies where they're bad, but I think in general it's an advantage to the bats if they've seen a lot of the pitcher. Yeah,
and I mean the other part of this too is there's only so much effort to give on anything, right? These guys are professional athletes. If they're going out, if you're saying he's going to try harder because he's pitching against his former team, it would be like saying, well, he's not really trying in the other games because there's only so many effort points to give.
Yeah. No, I think he's going out every. These guys are playing in major league stadiums. Like, how do you not give 100% every time you're in a stadium with 20,000, 30,000 fans? Probably 20,000 in MLB, right? They don't get 30,000 plus. I don't know what the attendance is.
We're about to wrap up the show because we're getting to lock here. But I always find the funniest is when people try to apply some of the narratives to MMA, because if there's any, like if you're in a fist fight where you are going to get hurt, what's the scenario you aren't trying?
Right. He's not going to get up for this one. He's going to get pounded.
Yeah. He's not going to, he's just going to get punched in the face this time. He's not going to maybe I get knocked out. Maybe somebody breaks my arm.
Yeah. That's a fun
narrative. Won't be trying as much. Anyway, guys, that is bringing us to the end of the slate. Thank you very much for watching. If you guys have not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check out our podcast channel as well, the Stochastic Podcast channel. If you guys want baseball information throughout the day, maybe you're driving home from work and you just want to listen to the strategy show in the car, go check out our podcast channel. And also leave us a review over there. Guys, thank you very much once again for watching. I'll be back here to do the show tomorrow, so go check that out. Good luck with your lineups tonight. Good night.